Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Sharifa, and my poetry name is New Lily. If you're new to the channel, please check out the links located in the description box and comment section. And in both locations, you'll find an identical set of links. Links that lead to videos that talk about what started my targeting in 2020. It's been 6 years, y'all. 6 years of retribution and torture for a text message. But that's not what it's really about. If you've listened to my videos, y'all, and my story and the things that have occurred during the targeting and prior to the targeting, you'll understand that this is years and years and years of, this is a over a decade long grudge that's been being held and revenge exacted. And that ties into what I'm going to be talking about this morning, y'all. More lunacy and crazy shit, right? But anyways, I don't even think I'll be keeping this video up, y'all. The videos I've made says everything. Like, I don't even feel like I ever need to make a video again. Everything I've said has validated and vindicated me. So I don't even feel like I need to make another video. But some mornings, similar to what I talked about in the last video, where they were portraying the false narrative and making the person in the video supposedly portray me when it was actually the things that they were doing. It's like a similar moment here now, y'all. So it's just like I couldn't help but make a video and say something about it, because again, it perturbed me and rubbed me the wrong way. It's like every day I have to deal with this, and it doesn't matter what I put on. Like, I could literally put on a video about hot dogs, and the crazy asses are gonna insert whatever with their fucking AI into my videos and then get worked up in the background and start doing fucking weird shit in the background because you getting worked up by the AI that you're using on me. Like, huh? Fucking lunatics. Anyway, so again, y'all, it was another morning of crazy weird shit while I'm just trying to sit there and work. All the other guards can sit there comfortably and work in peace, and they don't have everybody staring at them and you know, plotting and feeling some kind of grudge against them or whatever weird malice, vindictive, whatever is going on, whatever complex it is that you're having. So I'm sitting there watching the show, right, y'all? It was another movie this morning. And again, y'all, this is an emulation of what happened in the last video. It was another movie this morning with a bunch of shadow networking and sensitization. So it was basically about this man. What it is, first of all, it was already sensitization because the whole movie was about a picture, a camera, that if your picture is taken by the camera, then something bad is going to happen to you. Like, this entity is going to come after you, right? So I just decided to watch it. I humor them with the bullshit. They send all kinds of stupid movies, right? And it doesn't matter what I click on. Like I told you, I can try my damnedest to find something that won't have shadow network, and it's somehow they still insert the shit. So anyways, y'all, so I'm watching the movie, and I started watching it last night, actually, and then I ended up coming out and watching something else. And so then this morning I hopped back into it and started watching it. And so I'm watching it, and it's basically about, like I said, this camera. So this young girl, high school student, finds this camera, and her friend, well, it's not her that found it, her friend found it, and he brought it to her and gave it to her as a gift. And so she took a picture of him, and it had some sort of initials in it. She took it, so it belonged to somebody. It's like a vintage old camera that belonged to somebody, right? So I guess he got it at a yard sale or something like that. So he gives her the camera as a gift. She takes a picture of him, and then mysteriously he dies, right? So at first she doesn't realize that it's the camera. It's tied to the camera. But then she goes to a party after they all grieve, you know, about the loss of the friend and how strange the occurrence was that he died the way he did, you know, because he didn't have enemies or anything like that. You know, they have a high school party, and she takes the same camera and she takes a picture of her friends, and one of the friends ends up dying mysteriously again. So this is where she starts realizing something weird is going on with the camera. So she takes the camera and she tries to fling it, you know, because she starts realizing, she's starting to put two and two together, that she's like seeing in the pictures of the people who are dying, she's seeing like this shadowy figure in the background. So she started like slowly but surely realizing that something is going on with the camera and these mysterious deaths. Excuse me, y'all. It's early morning and I'm tired, and I don't even feel like making another video, y'all. I always say this. It's just, it just always behooves me or befuddles me or confounds me, the crazy weird shit with these people. So anyways, y'all, so she starts catching on that something weird is going on with this camera. So she starts to tell her friends, the other friends that she took a picture of, look, something weird is going on. I took a picture of so-and-so and he died. And then look, so-and-so, I think her name was Madison, was in the picture with you guys and she died. I think you all are in trouble. I think you guys are going to be next. And she's in like the cafeteria talking to them, right? I'm not trying to give y'all the whole rundown of the show, but I have to give you like some sort of backdrop story so you can understand why I think they were triggered. The people that started to, react how they started to react. I think they were triggered. Anyway, so anyway, she's telling them at the lunch table that she feels like they're in danger because of this camera and the fact that they're next. Their picture, they were in the picture with the girl the second student that died. So they're telling her, oh, please, come on now. What is it, a magical camera? And kind of teasing her about the theory that she's coming up with. So then he said, look, I'll just burn the picture. One of the friends that was in the picture. And he takes a lighter and he starts burning the picture. And as he's burning it, the first person that's in the picture that's getting burnt, in the picture, her arm starts actually setting on fire in real life. So immediately they start trying to out the fire, and then none of them are realizing it's the picture, but the girl who was trying to tell them that the camera has a problem. So she goes and she outs the fire out of the picture. The girl's arm is no longer on fire. So now they believe her and they're all, trying to figure out what to do about this camera situation. So that's what the movie's about, basically. Them trying to figure out how to save themselves from being a victim to this entity that's attached to the camera. Right? This vengeful spirit. So anyways, so they do the research and they try to track back where the camera came from. So they went back to where they bought it from, the yard sale or wherever they got it from. And then they start trying to trace back where they got the damn camera from. And so apparently it traced back to this teacher that worked in the town. And his name, y'all, was Sensitization. The first two letters of his name was the same first two letters of the cyber-stalking, cyberbullying guy's name. And then his middle name was the dude's last name. The cyber-stalking, cyberbullying guy's last name was his middle name. And then he had like some generic last name, Sable or whatever. So his name matched the initials that was on the camera. So they started realizing something weird was going on with this teacher and this camera. And so they read some sort of news article about the teacher. And apparently there was some big controversy where he went and he kidnapped 3 high school students. And apparently he was taking pictures of them while he was torturing them. And so he looked like some sort of maniacal, crazy nut that did some sort of crazy thing. And then the police came in and killed him while he was doing this crazy act to these children. The police came in and killed him. And so they're thinking, okay, so that's why the camera's possessed. It's this crazy, creepy teacher that was torturing these students and taking pictures. So they trace it back further, though, to get more of an understanding of how to stop him, right? So they're trying to figure out how to stop him now. So they find out who his family was. They find out who his wife was. And they go ahead and they find her. And when they talk to her, she tells them that the initials, the RJS that was on the camera, did not stand for his name. It stood for their daughter's name. And so the daughter's name began with an R as well. Her middle name began with a J as well. It was 2 different names to his, but still RJ. And then she had the last name Sable. So apparently the camera actually belonged to their daughter and not the quote unquote creepy teacher. So anyway, the wife ends up telling them the story, and she said this is the part of the story but that nobody ever tells. And so the camera, the way the newspaper was making it look, was like he was just this crazy, creepy teacher that kidnapped these 3 innocent students and killed them. When really, attempted to kill them, was torturing them and taking pictures, and then the police came in and killed them, the cavalry. Come to find out, that's not what took place. Those 3 students were bullies, and apparently the girl, the way they described her was they said she was really pretty. They said she was a pretty girl that was kind of slow, and they put plaid on her, and that she liked her camera. She liked to take pictures with her camera. And so the students, found that to be something to bully her about. And so they started bullying her. And they bullied her so bad that she ended up offing herself. So this was all shadow network, y'all. They even put the plaid on her. So I'm not saying anything, y'all. As usual, with all the fucking shit they're sticking into the technology, I'm sitting there quietly just watching it. I didn't say anything. The only thing I said was, oh, okay, so that's why the teacher did it. That's all I thought in my head. I said, oh, okay, so he didn't just kidnap the kids for no reason. That's why he did it. It was because of his daughter. That's the only thing I thought in my head, y'all. I didn't say anything else. This is similar to what happened the other morning, too. Not just with the false narrative they're painted with the crazy-ass chick that hired the hitman to kill the dude that was two-timing her. Revenge, right? This is also like what happened the other morning with the stripper thing, where I was sitting there watching the show and they're putting all the shadow network in and I wasn't saying anything. And then the 2 people that work in the facility came in with music playing loud And then all of a sudden the technology starts attacking me. All of a sudden the man has a yellow shirt on, and the girl is no longer the fun, carefree girl that was dancing, that caught his attention and made him think she could make a lot of money. She turned into this vapid, lonely loner type female. Like, I forgot what the beginning of the movie was saying, that she was out to Freaknik with her friends dancing. So it's like this weird thing they do with the technology. It's this weird torture tactic where they know everybody's watching me, and they insert certain things in the technology to make me uncomfortable. But typically I'm not reactionary. Like, I might make a low comment here or there, but I just sit there and I watch. But oftentimes if it's something that like triggers the gangstalkers, then they're going to move in a certain kind of way when they get triggered. So anyway, I'm sitting there watching it, and, you know, so he's explaining that they were bullies, and they had a problem with her for no reason. She was a pretty girl with a camera, and they had a problem with her. And so they were bullying her, and she ended up offing herself, which, guys, that will never be me. If y'all know my personality, I'm very headstrong, and also my faith and my belief system, that's never going to be me. I even made a video a couple of years ago, y'all, because I know how the technology works, and they can do stuff with the technology. I made a video saying, if God forbid anything ever happened to me, no, it wasn't me. Anyways, y'all, so that's what happened in the movie, though. The girl that was supposed to represent me, that was the slow, pretty girl with the camera, she ended up offing herself because these kids were bullying her relentlessly. They had some sort of complex or whatever problem they had with her. So anyway, she ended up hanging herself, and I think that triggered the gangstalkers, because if you've listened to my videos and the things I've been through and the stuff that they've done, I think it triggered them. I think it's like the shoe fit or something. That's what I think it was, honestly. So that part happens, and so we've now find out why the entity is attached to the camera. It's the father. But he wasn't just randomly killing these students. It was like some sort of vengeance for his daughter that was bullied into offing herself. So that's why he kidnapped those students. They were bullying the daughter, and so he kidnapped them and took... And what it is was, they weren't just bullying her, y'all. They took it a step further. They weren't just bullying her. They actually invited her to a party and took her camera and took inappropriate pictures of her. So doesn't that sound kind of like the recording of me in my apartment when I was having intercourse with an ex-boyfriend, and they pulled it out recently because of what happened with the man's girlfriend that was out of my control? Doesn't that sound kind of familiar, y'all? Anyway, so just crazy lunacy. This is why I have to make the videos, you know, because I'm like, I know they couldn't be this delusional. It has to be that they're feeling guilty. And as usual, that's why they're doing what they're doing. It has to be guilt. Because I know they're not delusional. So anyways, y'all, so that's what happens, right? They find out why the thing is haunted. So that's what was going on. That's why the father kidnapped those students. They were bullying the daughter. They had a complex or whatever issue they had with her. They were bullying her, and then they took it as far as inviting her to a party and then taking inappropriate pictures of her. And so that's what led to her offing herself. And so the father kidnapped them and was trying to get vengeance on them, and he was torturing them and taking pictures, and then the police came in and killed him, and he died with the camera in his hand, and he fell and got shot. Like, this weird thing that happened, and so that's why there was like this entity or this like vengeful spirit attached to the camera. So what was happening, though, is his spirit was now taking the vengeance out on innocent people, because now pictures are being taken of these innocent people, and he's taking his vengeance out. It's not really him. It's like this entity that was created from the way that he died. And so it's like these innocent kids now taking pictures, you know, they found the camera or whatever, taking pictures, and they're getting offed, and they didn't do anything. So anyways, so now we get to the end of the movie, y'all, and they figure out what's going on now, and they're trying to stop it. And so what they're trying to do is help him to get revenge on the last student that was bullying the daughter, because apparently that's what the wife said. He said he wouldn't rest until he got vengeance. And so they took the camera and they lured one of the sheriffs that was apparently, you know, a child back then, a teenager back then, one of the kids that got away that didn't end up getting killed by the father, lured him into some warehouse and told him, hey, we're sorry that we have to do this, but we need to take a picture of you so that this entity can get you, because innocent people are dying because of what you did. And so he said, no. And he starts telling some lie about the father. And of course, this was Shadow Network too, making up some lie like the father was actually the one taking the inappropriate pictures of the daughter, and his secret got out, and that's why he was angry, and it was a lie. Apparently it was a lie, but that was Shadow Network too. So of course they had revving in the road in the background, right? Remember I told y'all in the morning time they have a gang stalker hired on, And so while they're playing these stupid, dumb bullshit on my phone, they have this person that they're paying and this person is there for hours on end, y'all. Not just in the early hours when people start coming through the gate. I'm talking 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, sometimes 1 o'clock. They have like this person that's just driving up and down on the highway with a rev campaign. And when certain things play on my phone or in my video, they're revving up. They're always there. It's literally a gang stalker that's on the payroll. You know they pay people out the ass to gang stalk. So of course this gang stalker that's always revving in the morning time starts revving for that part. Come to find out the man was lying and he got ripped in two. The entity ripped him in two, right? So anyway, whatever the case is, he got ripped in half and the entity's still angry though and vengeful and it's still coming after them, right? So they're trying to stop it. So basically the girl figured out that, well, let me take a picture of him. She said, if I take a picture of him, then I can do something with the picture, similar to how when she was trying to prove to her friends that this thing was happening and the guy burnt the picture and then the girl's arm started burning in real life. She thought, well, if I take a picture of the entity, then I can manipulate the picture and destroy the entity. She thought that in her head. So she took a picture of the entity that had basically the same name as the cyberstalking, cyberbullying guy, and that was trying to get vengeance on innocent people. She took a picture of the entity and burnt the picture. And so that was how she destroyed the entity. Do you know as soon as she did that, first of all, they started doing the ref campaign outside, the same gang stalker I was just telling you about. But that's not what triggered me. It was the people that started coming in the gate that started revving in super hard. And then when they started revving in super hard after that happened, then the bird starts chirping. And then the person on the road starts revving even more. And so I'm just like, what? I'm like, wait a minute. They're painting it like I'm the entity that has the name as the cyberstalking, cyberbullying guy, which is a grudge from over a decade ago, by the way. They're painting it like I'm the entity that's doing horrible stuff to innocent people and trying to get vengeance. When I explain to you all the things that have been done, you've been watching my videos, especially as it pertains to that location. I even told you what happened when I was trying to get my job back there just recently, where I just simply, because I didn't react the way they wanted me to react to the word recruit, they started beaming my head with energy weapons and sending references about teaching. Like, it's been endless retribution for things that are out of my control. I was just like, I'm like, wait a minute. So the entity has the name of the cyberstalking, cyberbullying guy, which is one of the grudges y'all are holding on me from over a decade ago that you're trying to get vengeance for. And then also, too, I'm getting punished for things that are completely out of my control, like how this entity was punishing these innocent children. Like the sex tape, innuendo, etc. And I'm like, you're revving for the entity getting burned? The entity that was trying to get vengeance on the innocent children? When all you're doing is trying to get vengeance on me for things that are out of my control? I'm not the one doing stuff. This is, like I said, a repeat of that episode with the dusty female that hired the dude to come and kill her dude that was two-timing her. And I'm like, but you're hiring Tom, Dick, Joe, and whoever else to get revenge on me for whatever happened with your friend in the old gym, and he started with me. And then you even mentioned that you recorded me creepily in my apartment from 4 years ago with an ex-boyfriend as a way to hurt me as a get back because his girlfriend was malfunctioning when you were trying to do some bullying tactic there too. I'm like, this has to be guilt because I know they're not delusional. It has to be guilt. It's either strong delusion that needs to be preyed off or it's guilt. There's no in between. It's like, it's either you're very delusional, like extremely convoluted, or it was guilt. The shoe fit and you saw the entity getting crumpled up and bun up. And so you decided to rev in hard on top of me, like it's me. Because that's like a repeat of, like I said, what happened the other morning, where just because two workers came in with music blasting and they were saying whatever they're saying about the girl making money that night on stage or whatever they were saying, all of a sudden the technology starts to warp and he's wearing a yellow shirt and they're saying horrible stuff about the girl all of a sudden. And then the bird starts chirping. It's like they keep getting triggered by their technology. You think I want this shit sent to me? I want to be able to sit in peace and watch a show without y'all watching me. I actually want privacy. Your technology is sending a bunch of bullshit and then you're getting triggered. And I have to suffer as usual. I was just like, I was baffled. I was just looking around like I'm fucking plumb confused. I'm like, really? And I know it's not an IQ thing because I'm not dealing with stupid people. It's either you're playing like you're stupid, you're delusional, or you're guilty. Anyways, y'all, I just had to vent again. It's like every morning I'm venting because every morning they're sending stupid fuck shit with the technology, and then the people in the background are getting triggered and doing dumb shit. I would like to sit quietly and watch a show in peace without being stared at. That's what I would like to happen. I was just like, what the fuck? And then I got confused too because, anyway, this is irrelevant. I don't need to add this in, but I just want to explain why this happened because while I'm writing it down, all these cars are coming through. Before the hard revving started, there was a car that came through that looked like one of the supervisors in there, and the person normally beeps. She usually beeps me. So the person beeped and I thought it was her, but then I saw the plate number and I realized I didn't recognize the plate number. I was like, the Q was not there. Even though that's her car, the Q wasn't there, but I didn't know anybody else in here to drive the car. Apparently it was the dude with the big beard. Remember when I worked in there, I told you how he started doing direct-to-convo saying horrible stuff? Anyway, he wasn't one of those that revved it. I don't think he would do that after what happened. Anyway, he wasn't one of those that revved it. He came in and beeped. I actually thought that was the supervisor, but I'm just trying to explain why I got bassety or confused. Because I haven't seen him roll in there in a minute. Anyway, that was before that part happened though. But even that just reminded me, because even with him, I hadn't done anything to him. And things were cool at first, and then it was like this random attack. But ever since then, and me talking about it, hasn't done anything really. Typically when he drives through, he beeps, and, I haven't had an issue with him. But that was just a reminder of one of the many things that happened in there. And I know a lot of it has to do with the man from the gym. They're good friends with the man from the gym. And I think part of it is the teaching thing, like I've said already, and they've made that blatantly clear. I'm not just making an assumption. Look, they're even clicking the window. They've made that blatantly clear. Anyways, y'all, so I was just thrown aback. I was just like, oh my God, I'm sitting here again, just being polite and courteous to everyone, just trying to do my job and then take my ass on home. And it's like more bullshit. And hypocritical bullshit at that. It was like complete hypocrisy. Like, I'm the one who should be moving hard like that when the entity is getting burned. That's trying to get vengeance on the innocent people. I just think they were triggered. I think they were triggered from the time they talked about the girl with the camera that hadn't done anything. That they were, like, doing whatever too. And then that part at the end happened. I think they were, like, guilt. Anyways, y'all, I had to talk about it because this was, like, another moment for me, like the other day with the thing with the yellow sweater on. That was kind of doing what the man and those people were doing to me. And they're trying to paint it like it was me. I was just like, huh? Anyways, y'all, okay. All right, y'all. It's later in the day, and more has happened that I would like to document. Y'all, I was not even going to document the extra stuff that happened since the last clip that I just made, that you just listened to. Not that I just made. I didn't just make that. I made that this morning. But the last clip you just listened to. The stuff that happened since then, I was not going to make a video about it. But they just sent a Gangstlking friend request on Facebook, y'all. And I'm just like, okay, nah, screw it. I'm going to talk about this. And I'm still not sure if I'm going to make this video public or not. If you're listening to it, obviously I decided to make it public. But whether I decide to make it public or not, y'all listen to Noise Campaign. I've talked about I'm not, you know what, let me not, because there's a thing in the vicinity that I live at that's obsessed with me, and it thrives off of getting my attention and me talking about it in my video. So let me not feed it. It's been going all day, y'all. I mean, since this morning, y'all. It even followed me around the house and hopped in the next door neighbor's yard because it's friends with the next door neighbor, and started fake cutting the next door neighbor's grass while I was out there meal prepping. Like, I'm talking, this is the type of shit I'm dealing with this crazy ass. I've made videos about this nut before, but anyway, I don't want to give him too much attention in my videos. He thrives when I do things like that, right? But if you hear Noise Campaign, that's him. He's been going since early this morning, y'all, since 8 a.m. to now. I kid you not. I even left for hours, y'all, and came home and he was doing stuff. He took a lawnmower and hopped in the next neighbor's yard just so he could be at that part of the house that I was in, where I was making food, so he could be at that side of the house, fake cutting the grass. Like, this man is like completely unhinged, y'all, and his eyes are fire red. It's the same man that I told y'all when I found out I might be teaching again. He started doing this directed convo by the gate. Remember, I told y'all the yards are very close together in the houses. He started doing directed convo by the gate. Directed convo, talking about, and it burned him. It was burning him. I was like, oh my God, this man is so creepy and scary. I don't know him like that, you know. I do not know this man like that. He's like my dad's age, like 60s, early 60s. I am 34. I don't know you. Why is it burning you that anything is happening with me? I don't know you. I never did anything to you. You are scary. And his eyes are fire red, y'all. And it would sound like I'm being a bitch, but I've been dealing with this crazy man from the time I've moved into this neighborhood, y'all. Just weird, crazy activity with him, and him doing noise campaigns on me and you know, slamming shit down and getting angry for things that are happening with me. Noise campaigns, harassment, forcing his energy in my space. Making these weird, creepy noises by the gate, and the yards are so close together. He knows I have to hear it because I'm in my room. I can't unless I put my earphones in. It's just creepy, weird, invasive thing with him. And now he stopped the noises because he's getting what he wants, the attention. It's like this thirst for my attention. And he's getting the attention, and now I'm talking about him in my video. Mission accomplished. Nutcase, y'all, I'm telling you. Anyway, enough talking about him. It was just he started doing weird noises, noise campaigns, and it was distracting from what I'm about to talk about. So anyways, y'all, I was not gonna document what happened since the last clip because, again, I made the last clip this morning, and as you all can see, it's 6:40 p.m. So the whole day has passed. I slept for a little bit. Obviously, y'all know I worked the night shift. Then I did my usual routine. Y'all know well, if you've been keeping up with my videos, I've talked about this in several videos. I have like this strict routine, y'all. Y'all know for now I'm working the night shift as a security guard. I'm in the process of trying to teach again. I've already gone through the process of getting recertified. I paid for the certification. I turned in the documents. The process is ongoing. We'll see what happens, right? So anyway, in the meantime though, I work the night shift. I do security, as you all know, and during the daytime I have nothing to do. I also am trying to get back in classes. Y'all know there were some roadblocks with that as well. Targeted individual. So that is also something that I'm working on, is getting back into classes, y'all. But that's not happening at the moment. So at the moment, like I said, all I do is security at night, and then my days are free. So during the daytime, I have this strict gym regimen that I adhere to. And I've been that way my whole life anyway, like into athletics and sports and keeping up with my health and doing diets and workout routines and writing lists. I've been doing this my whole life, y'all, before the targeting. But now that I'm targeted and I have nothing going on during the daytime at the moment, I'm even more like particular and obsessive over the routine and making sure that I have some sort of routine going so that my days are filled with something and I'm not laying around idly being harassed by psychopaths. I'd rather leave and do something productive and keep up with my health, etc. So anyway, so today's one of my workout days. It's Wednesday. And this is the day where I work on my arms and I work on my glutes. On Mondays and Fridays, those are my leg days. I work on my legs and a little bit of glute work. And then, like I said, today, Wednesday, and Sundays are my arms and my glutes. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have written down in my routine that I'm supposed to go to the court and play basketball. But ever since my car went down and I've been borrowing this vehicle from the people in my close circle, I try not to leave with it every day. So I haven't really been going to play basketball on the Tuesdays and the Thursdays. I just use it as a rest day. And then Saturday is my Sabbath, and that's also a rest day, y'all. So anyway, today was a workout day. Long story short. So went to work out, y'all, and sorry, I heard a door outside and that totally distracted me. I'm looking outside. I'm being nosy. So today was a workout day for me, y'all. And I went to the gym earlier. After I made the clips that you heard me make this morning when I got off work, I rested for a few hours, and I got up, got myself ready, and I went to the gym. So before I got to the gym, y'all, I had to stop for gas. My gas was on E, and I've been making it a habit of putting at least $20 in the tank. y'all know what's happened recently. I told y'all in, you know, the recent videos what happened with the gas running out on me and whatever, right? So anyways, y'all, I made sure today to go and put $20 in my tank, and I've just been making sure to do that just so that the gas won't run out on me. It's happened like twice in recent times, like in the last month, where gas ran out on, was it this month or last month? I can't remember. I think it was the beginning of this month, where gas ran out on me, and you know, it was a situation where I have money. I'm like, I can't believe I let this happen, and I'm being targeted and certain tactics are being used, and I wanted to beat myself up. So I've been adamant and anal with the gas, like making sure to put at least 20 in the tank, you know, if I see it getting low. So anyways, yeah, hold on, y'all. A bunch of cars are driving by. Give me a minute. A bunch of cars and stuff is going on. It's distracting me. You know, I have ADD. It doesn't take much for me to get distracted, and then everybody's watching me too. So it does not take much, y'all. Like the drop of a pin can distract me. So anyways, y'all, back to what I was saying though. Okay. I had to regroup, y'all. I'm already full too. Like, if you've been keeping up with my videos, another thing you'll know that I'm doing is adhering to a strict diet, and I've been doing this 1 meal a day thing recently. So y'all already know I changed my diet and I've been eating healthier, which I've done throughout the years. I've been into holistic health and eating healthy, but there was a point last year where I threw health out the window and I was more so focused on gaining weight. And so I was doing a lot of whey protein and beef and unhealthy junky type stuff. And then the injury happened at the end of last year, and I got the ultrasound and found out that I have 2 fibroids, and that led to me changing my diet. I was trying to heal the injury that I had naturally and obviously get rid of the fibroids. So I've gotten back to my old self and the way I used to eat, really. And now I'm incorporating this new style of eating where you're I've been doing the intermittent fasting thing off and on throughout the years too, y'all. But I'm doing like a specific type of intermittent fast, something called 1 meal a day, where you're only eating 1 meal a day. And there's like a lot of benefits to it. And so that's why I'm doing it. But it's just taxing when you first start doing it again. Now listen to the creepy man, right? Now listen, he's making the weird noise by the gate again, y'all. Breathing down my neck, focused on what I'm saying in my room and making the creepy noise again to get my attention. Do you know how annoying that is? When somebody creepy is like in your space and you can't get rid of them? And they keep making weird antagonizing noises for you to hear? You know how annoying that is? Anyways, y'all, like I was saying, so I've been like really trying to do this 1 meal a day thing, and it's difficult. At first, when you do it, you have to get acclimated to it. Obviously, the hours when you're not eating, you're feeling the hunger pangs, which is autophagy. It's something, I've talked about this in prior videos, something called autophagy, where your body is doing like a self-cleaning. So when your body's not digesting food, it has the opportunity to clean itself. And so your immune system starts regenerating. And so the hunger pangs you're feeling is your body actually cleaning itself and your immune system regenerating. So that part is hard, but the eating part is harder because you need to eat enough to get enough protein in, etc. You're eating 1 meal. You don't have to eat as much as you think. Because of the way that your body is able to metabolize food better and your immune system is rebooting and stuff, you don't have to eat as much, or you don't have to really worry about calorie counting and protein counting, etc. when you're doing the 1 meal a day. Your body kind of takes care of it. Your body becomes more efficient with those things and with prioritizing fat burning versus protein intake, etc. And human growth hormone is released. There's like an increase. I forget how much. It's like this huge percentage of human growth hormone that's released. So it actually helps with muscle building. It helps with, if you have diabetes, insulin sensitivity, hormonal imbalances. If you have some sort of illness in your body, it's going to heal you. It's a way to heal you and fix any problem that's going on inside that you don't know about. In addition to helping you, like I said, if you're somebody that works out and you're focused on muscle building and whatever, right? So it's just difficult though. You have to get acclimated to doing something like that. And so my body's trying to get used to it, and I have to eat all this food in one sitting, and it's hard, and my stomach's trying to get adjusted. And so it's hard, y'all. I'm trying to do this video while I'm full stuffed with food, and tired and then dealing with, you know, entities nearby that are like attached to me and whatever else is going on, y'all. It's hard, and everybody's staring at me too. Even those that are not getting involved or harassing me, everybody is staring at me 24/7. So anyway, so if I do sound winded, y'all, that's why. But nonetheless, so y'all can see it's 6:48 p.m., right? So I went to the gym earlier. I mean, I left the house and I went to get gas. And on my way to get the gas, I stopped at the gas station. I knew there was going to be some bullshit happening, y'all. Because of what happened this morning, I knew there was going to be some caca happening. The rooster drone, you hear it right now, don't you? The rooster drone going ham in the background. Similar to how you hear it now is how it was going this morning when I made the clips. So the last clip you heard. So I knew it was going to be some strippiness. I knew it was going to be some strippiness going on today when I left the house. I just knew it. I didn't know what was going to be happening, but I knew it was going to be some strippiness. So anyway, I went to the gas station, and before I went to the gas station, though, I noticed this morning, after whatever happened, I thought the thoughts I thought about it before I made the clip that you heard, the last clip. I noticed I was seeing the emergency vehicles, like the fire truck and whatever else I was seeing out there, right? And I had stopped at the store to get some strawberries because I eat fruits with my one meal a day. I eat fruits, veggies. It's mainly like plant-based, fruits, veggies, a third-party tested vegan non-GMO protein shake. I drink 3 of those. I eat wild-caught light tuna. I make wraps with it, with spinach wraps. Organic arugula. Like, it's like mostly plant-based with my diet. Broccoli, strawberries, fruits. Different fruits. Every day, not every day. Every week I try to change out the fruit. I'm trying to change the fruit. Last week I had mango. This week I decided to have strawberries. Anyway, so this morning I went to stop at the store to get the strawberries after what happened at the job. And I was just noticing a bunch of Gangstlking. I was like, oh boy. So anyway, I got home, like I told y'all. Then I left, went, slept for a little bit, got ready, left, went to the gas station to get the gas, and then I was headed to the gym. When I get to the gas station, I notice I'm seeing like a bunch of older looking Rasta men. So I'm like, are these people associated with my dad or something? Because my dad, even though he doesn't have dreadlocks right now and he has cut hair, when he was younger, he had like many different lock journeys. He never let it grow long. It was this weird thing with my dad. I think he's like kind of vain. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to say stuff to make my dad pissed. Like, I'm already having like this weird thing going on with my dad recently. It was something I documented that I decided not to put in the videos that happened with him recently, but it's been kind of like weird recently. It's almost kind of reminiscent of how bad things had gotten between him and I when the targeting first started and when we were living in the old neighborhood. It's not as bad as that, but like it started to kind of get like that again recently because of something that happened that was out of my control. But anyway, nonetheless, so I'm not trying to say anything to make things like more weird right now, but like I'm just telling you, like he literally was like the Rastafari religion. That's why I keep saying when we were growing up, we were not Hebrew Israelite. It was like a mixed household. My dad was Rastafari, and my mom was what you could call a Christian. My grandparents were Christian, like devout Christians. Like they went to the church and everything. They had a church out in town, and we used to go to functions at that church, like holiday functions. Anyway, we didn't really become Hebrew until high school. I keep saying this. Like my dad, one of his friends, I guess, showed him certain stuff in the Bible. And that it made sense to him, I guess. And he came home and told us and showed us certain stuff. And that was when the Hebrew thing started in high school. We grew up in like a freeform kind of household where my dad was a Rasta, the religion. I'm not just talking about his hair, like the religion. And my mom was, like I said, Christian. Anyway, so nonetheless, that's why I keep saying it's like I didn't grow up in a cult. And the Hebrews aren't a cult anyway. It's like this different type of perception of whatever is going on, and not all of them believe the offensive stuff either. They're not what I would call a cult. It's not like the Charles Manson thing where they're killing people or trying to hurt people physically, but it is offensive, some of the content that's shared, especially amongst some Hebrew groups. So I understand the contention, right? But nonetheless, we didn't grow up in that belief system. We grew up in a free form house. I went to a diverse private school. A lot of my best friends when I was younger were white. I've said this a million times. I shared the content out of anger. It was 4 years ago. I've apologized. I'm not still sharing it. You use Gangstalker, the guys that created the offensive content that I shared in my car 4 years ago. You used them as Gangstalkers. And I didn't see anyone angry. I'm not trying to say like I want them to get harassed. It's like almost like I'm throwing them under the bus when I say these things. But I'm just trying to show you that, this is bullshit. It's not really about that. Anyway. Nonetheless, I'm going off on a tangent and I'm not meaning to, y'all. It's just that was one of the things that they were trying to use as an excuse for why the man at the gym did what he did. But I'm like, I shared that offensive stuff before I got in the gym though. And I was working out around him for like a whole year and he wasn't doing that. Cap. I'm calling cap. He was trying to humiliate me. It was what he was trying to do. And it wasn't like some altruistic get back for white people. That's not what that was. Or he would have done it from long before. Anyway, y'all. Nonetheless, let me continue. So anyway, y'all. So I pull up. The reason I started talking about the roster thing is tangent. I'm trying to talk about what I saw at the gas station when I pulled up. But anyway, so that's the kind of household we grew up in. For the most part, majority of my life, at least in my younger years, before high school and the later years, was knowing the Rastafari understanding and belief system, like Haile Selassie, etc. And my dad throughout the years like went back and forth between different lock journeys. I think that's why I had the same issue when I was younger. Like I went through like 3 or 4 different lock journeys where I had dreads. The longest it ever got was like past my collarbone, like down to my breast a little bit. And then I cut it and I never put it back in again. But I was always cutting my dreadlocks. I get tired and I miss my hair. And I think the same thing was happening to my dad. Like he was throwing locks and he would let it get like a certain length and he'd chop it off. Now he'd throw in locks again and let it get a certain length and he'd chop it off. I used to wonder why is he never growing his locks? I didn't really understand. He was like, he stayed doing that. Like throwing in locks and cutting it. Throwing in locks and cutting it. But anyway, a lot of his friends like were Rastafari. I think a lot of them are Hebrew now. And maybe some are still Rastafari. But a lot of them transitioned into Hebrew. He learned it from his friends. Anyway, so nonetheless, though, for the most part, they were Rastafari. So, like, my dad is this well-known older guy on the island, and he knows a lot of people. Like, when we were younger, everywhere we went, Malachi, Malachi. That's my dad's, like, nickname. His real name, I'm not going to say. They use it in the technology all the time, y'all. But I guess whenever he became Rasta or whatever, he wanted to have, like, I guess a different name from the Bible. I guess the name he had, he felt was... I don't know why he got the nickname, because that's not a nickname that his parents gave him. But he called himself Malachi, and so a lot of the people, and that's my younger brother's name, one of my younger brothers, by the way. He named one of my younger brothers that name. Anyway, so everywhere we go when we were children, Malachi, what's going on? Malachi, like left and right, like there's people dopsing up my dad. I think that's why it's so bad for me now in the targeting, because so many people know my dad. So many people know other people that I've pissed off in the targeting or that have a grudge against me. So it's just like I'm screwed. Like it's a lot of people involved. And I'm more of an introverted person. So it's not like I have this friend and that friend in every corner of the island. And it's a small community. So anyways. So nonetheless, y'all. So back to the point, y'all. That was like a major tangent. So when I get to the gas station, I start seeing all these older Rasta men. So I'm like, wait a minute. These all look like none of the faces look familiar. I know a lot of my dad's friends' faces. Like I didn't recognize any of the faces. But there are a lot of Rasta men down here that's friends with my dad that I don't know. Like I've seen him dops up like numerous Rasta men that I've never seen in my life before. So anyway, there was a bunch of them at the gas station. Like 3 of them one time. Like I pull up, I see one in green pulling up. I see one wearing blue with a mask on. That's what made me flip off though. It's the mask thing because it's like so fake. I know I look good. I'm not no fine thing. I'm not Halle Berry. I'm not like some big mouth. Like I'm such a humble, meek person typically. But it's just the concerted effort to make me have this warped sense of self. And some of the tactics they've used, I'm like, I know what the problem is. I know why you're doing what you're doing. So anyways, that was where I flipped off because I already dealt with what I dealt with this morning. So I was already on edge, what y'all heard in the last clip. Because typically when it's an older person, I already said this. If it's somebody that's like anywhere from 50s to early 60s, I feel like you're still young enough, like, to where it's like you're not super elderly, where it's like I feel like I'm disrespecting an elderly person. Like you have sense and you still have some pep to your stuff. Like I feel like you could get some words if you're doing bully and shit. At a certain age, if like I look like 70 and up and you're doing gangstalking stuff, I'm gonna bite my tongue and turn my head. Similar to how when white people are doing gangstalking stuff, because I shared offensive stuff 4 years ago, I bite my tongue and I turn my head. But if you're like, like I said, 50s to like early mid 60s, you could still get some words if you're doing some bully and shit. So anyways, so this is what I noticed. I noticed like I see like 3 different Rasta men one time. Like I see one pulling up behind me with like this green outfit on his, like a green turban on his head. Then I see this next one in a blue shirt coming out the gas station with a mask on his face. It was like timed. It was staged. There was one parked in a car already sitting there. He didn't look as old. He looked more like he was in his 40s maybe. And next one walking, looking like he was wearing yellow or orange. I can't remember what. They're using so many colors, y'all. I already said they should just wear a rainbow shirt. at this point. They're using every color of the rainbow. I mean, it would fit the narrative perfectly with the false narrative. You might as well just put all the colors together and wear a shirt with the rainbow and put a pot of gold at the end. Get good at what you're doing, man. All these fucking colors, these different colors, it's confusing me. Pink, green, blue, orange, yellow. Skittles, it's the rainbow. Like, they're using every color. Green. Red. White. Anyways, y'all. So the man walks out with the mask on, and I'm already triggered because they've really been, what they've been doing these last few months. And what happened this morning, I was already triggered. Like, I keep feeling like I'm getting punished for things that are out of my control, and then they keep trying to make me have this warped sense of self. So, that was where I look, somebody's slamming something. Let me see what's going on outside, because I think it's the man's twin. Hold on, let me see who did that. I can't see where it came from, y'all. But the same man I was going off on in the beginning of the movie, there's another man on the street, I've told you all about him, that also does Gangstlking stuff sometimes. And they look kind of similar. Like, they have a similar aesthetic. I keep calling it his twin. That man, his twin. But that man isn't as annoying. He's very annoying. And he has off and on points. It's like seasons with him. Like, he'll have a season when he's harassing me, and then a season where I'm like, he's not doing stuff. Or he'll do slight stuff. This one here, like, he's more so like it's all year round. Like, it's not seasons, it's all year round. And then he'll have like off moments, like he'll take a vacation from harassing me, but it's pretty much a consistent thing. Whereas this next one that I like to call his twin is like seasons. Like, he'll have a season when he's doing annoying shit and on top of me, and then like he fall back and it's almost like you don't even know he's there. So anyway, the sound sounded like it came from that direction. So that's why I was looking, because I had just saw his truck drive by like not too long ago. Like, literally like 10-15 minutes ago, I saw his truck drive by. So that's why I thought that might have been him. Anyway, y'all, let me stop giving these people attention in the video. So nonetheless, y'all, when I was already triggered from what happened this morning and what they've been doing these last few months, and how I keep feeling like I'm being punished for things that are out of my control. Like, the punishment isn't fitting the crime. Like, it's hypocritical. And also, like, you're saying you're punishing me for certain things, but I'm seeing other people who are doing the same thing or worse, and you're not doing that to them. I'm just like, what is this really about? And then understanding, too, that it is deeper, and knowing what it's really about. Friendships, personal bias, grudges, etc. So that's what's going on, y'all. Like, a lot of those people, like I said in the last clip, that work at the facility are good friends with the man from the gym. So that's why I got the treatment I got when I got in there. And then also, like I said, there was like some sensitivity with the teaching thing, where I think they felt like whatever they felt about me, whatever perception they had of me. And I'm not just saying that out the side of my neck. It was literally like the stuff they did. They made it very obvious and clear that that's what was going on. So anyways, y'all, so nonetheless, I did start to flip out a little bit. Not flip out. When I say flip out, y'all, it's never like oh shit, I just realized I'm staring. I just realized am I seeing a light? Is somebody, I wasn't staring at the car, It's now that I heard music, I was just staring. I always do that when I'm talking. I stare out my window in different directions. I start realizing I'm hearing music. I realize the car I'm staring at is a relative of mine, and I don't know if I think she's in her car. I wasn't even staring at her car, I'm just staring out talking, and then I started hearing music like it's turning up. And that's what made me start getting awkward and realize this is almost equivalent to what I talked about in the last video, y'all. With the guy with the green eyes that I was staring at in high school by accident. Like, it was one of those moments. I wasn't meaning to stare. Anyway. Okay, so maybe I'm sure everybody's listening to me right now, but maybe she just wanted to turn her music up. But I started hearing music, and then I started realizing what I was staring at. Anyway, so like I was saying, y'all. So when I saw the mask in my head, I said hating ass bitches or whatever stupid shit I thought in my head. And I've talked about this in videos, y'all, how targets will oftentimes fall susceptible to the program and end up calling the gang stalkers haters because of the tactics they're using. It emulates somebody who's hating on someone. It's literally like an emulation of what a hater would do, some of the things that they do. And then specifically with my targeting, some of the things that has taken place. So that's where, sometimes I do say that word, especially when I feel like I'm being punished for things that are out of my control. You're constantly trying to make me have a warped sense of self, trying to tear me down. it's horrible. So sometimes I do use that term, especially after what happened with the job too. Like I told y'all what happened with the girl that said whatever she said. I don't want to, it's sensitive. She said whatever comment she made, and then I got awkward and the bird started chirping and I went down to the computer lab, and then a week later I lost my job at the facility. I don't want to rehash that, y'all, and talk about it. It's sensitive for me, but like, yeah. So that's also why that's kind of like a thing that pops out of me sometimes when they're doing certain tactics, really horrible stuff. So anyways, y'all, nonetheless, y'all, so I did think that in my head. I got annoyed and I said these hating ass bitches or whatever. I said, I know they know I look good or whatever I thought in my head. And I put on this song that I've been playing, y'all. I've talked about this, I think, in one of the prior videos. It's this song that says, I'll let the facts show. No. It's like this R&B song by this underground artist that I really like, Layla. She sounds really good. But in the song, she's basically talking about letting the facts show. She doesn't have to use her words or anything. She's just going to let the facts show. And so what they've been doing with the man from the gym, for instance, that's mainly what I've been using the song for. That's the main thing I've been using it for. Where they keep like harassing me and like tearing me down and like running me down, screaming he doesn't like me when I'm not saying that he does. And so that's where I started playing that song, I'll Let the Facts Show. Because I'm like, out of the two of us, with the actions that were taken, I know for sure it doesn't look like I liked him. And then they're doing the guzzling the water thing and stuff, and then at the same time screaming he doesn't like me. And I'm just thinking about, the things that took place. Check out this part 1 video where I laid out the facts and the actions that he took versus the actions that I took. And then the result of those actions and what the program did. And that's where I'm like, I'll let the facts show. Because out of the two of us, I know it damn sure didn't look like I was the one that was having a problem. So anyway, I start playing that song whenever they start trying to do stuff as it pertains to that man. And part of it is doing the mask thing and trying to come for my looks and trying to tear me down and just the horrible stuff that they do and have been doing. Then it's now trying to make it like I stink. Now there's this thing where they're trying to make it like my private stink, and they're bringing up this bitter ex that I had one sexual encounter with in my apartment 4 years ago that they recorded, and they only brought out the fact that they had recorded it 6 months ago after the thing with the man's girlfriend happened, another bullying tactic that they were trying to do. This video, y'all. Check out this part 1 video, y'all. And, towards the end, you'll hear me talking about the interaction with this ex, and you'll hear me talking about how they started bringing up the fact that they recorded me in my apartment. This was before the targeting went viral, y'all. So understand, none of this is about the stuff they're pretending it's about. It's not about white people. It's not about homeless people, and it's not about any of those things that happened later on when I tried to relocate off island. They've been doing stuff, this is what I keep trying to tell you, since before I tried to relocate. This is a grudge that's been held for years and years and years. It is not about white people. No disrespect to white people. I'm not trying to take away from offending you. I've already apologized. There's nothing else I can do about it. But you're just hopping on as an alliance because I offended you. But this is not about you. It's not. This is a grudge that's been held. And revenge and trying to humiliate me and whatever they're trying to do and been trying to do for years. Even before the targeting, this is something that's been ongoing. And it's manifested into targeting now. Anyway, so anyway, they only brought out the fact that they recorded me because this interaction with this person happened it was either 2001 or 2022. I don't think it was 2022. I think it was towards the end of 2021. Because 2022 was when I tried to relocate off island. I was on island, I think, until June. Excuse me. And then I tried to relocate. I resigned from my teaching job and I tried to relocate. So I know that interaction didn't happen at the beginning of 2022. It was in 2021 when it took place, towards the end of 2021. Years ago at this point now, y'all, because we're in 2026. Anyway, 7 months ago, as y'all can see, this part 1 sabotaging video where I talked about the interaction with the man's girlfriend, where they were trying to bully me again, and it backfired. After that thing happened where the girl was blinking and malfunctioning and whatever the hell was going on with her, immediately after they start sending references about recordings and sex tapes and bets and innuendos through the technology, y'all. You know how they can do the subliminal thing, and sending the name of that ex's best friend. That ex's best friend was in a relationship with my a family member of mine. I met that ex actually through that family member. And so she was with that guy, the ex's friend. And I went on, hold on, y'all, let me blow my nose and I'll. Anyways, y'all, so, and I've told this story already, y'all. Actually, recently, in one of these recent videos, I told this story. I don't remember which video I talked about it in, but I talked about it recently. I only just started talking about that. This is how irrelevant that relationship was. Now I'm saying stuff because obviously he's saying negative things behind my back. This is how irrelevant that relationship was. Even that kisses to my ex's video that I made, was it the last year that I made it or year before last, where I was showing some of my exes? And I only did that because of some of the things that they were pushing with the technology. Like I was obsessed with the cyberstalking, cyberbullying guy, and I was somebody that he used and threw to the side. And now I was trying to like get revenge by saying certain complete lies, the same crazy shit they're doing with the man from the gym, like this delusional, false narrative, crazy shit when they know full well what's been going on, like how they recently admitted, only now, like I told y'all a few months ago, that there were bets and stuff going before the targeting. Anyway, but for years they had me going in circles, like two good years had me going in circles trying to prove myself and, painting these false narratives like I was the bitter, jaded ex or the bitter, jaded side thing or whatever they were trying to do. So anyways, that was why I made the kisses to my ex's video, to show you that I've had real relationships since whatever happened with that man. And I showed some of my exes. That wasn't even like, that was just a small little handful, y'all, of some of the men I've talked to. So anyway, I noticed that in that video, I never showed this. Well, you wouldn't know. You don't know these people personally. But that kisses to my ex's video, I didn't include that ex. I didn't show a picture of him and I didn't talk about him because that relationship to me was irrelevant and short-lived. In fact, it wouldn't have happened had it not been for certain circumstances that I was going through in my personal life. I would have never even, to be honest with you, even dated him. I don't typically date younger guys. You would have to be like spectacular, and I don't like younger guys. I like my age or older, preferably older. So anyways, it was just because the same cyberstalking, cyberbullying situation that was happening on Island was happening. And I couldn't trust the guys in my age group or the guys that were older. Like a lot of them were involved. So many of them were involved that I felt safe dating somebody younger, if that makes sense. That's the only reason I even gave this man the time of day, Anyway, so back to what I was saying at the end of the last clip. And like I said, I told this story already before. So my younger sister, I try not to mention specific relationships, but I'm not saying anything about her that's like personal. Like, I mean, I'm briefly mentioning, whatever, but this is about me. This is not like prior videos recently that I made where I was talking about certain things that still pertain to me, but included some of her personal info. This is not that, so I can mention the relationship. Anyway, my younger sister was going to school on campus here on Island. This was before she followed me to Florida when I went back to school to get my bachelor's degree. I need to blow my nose, y'all. I'm sorry. So she was going to school down here, and this was before the relationship got weird. Like, things are weird now in the targeting. Actually, my relationship with all of my family members is weird. My older sister and I used to be, like, connected at the hip. We were so close. People really used to call us twins. And that relationship is weird, too, due to the targeting and due to the things that I've been through. But even with my younger sister, we were close at a certain point. We were very close. So this was back when we were still cool, and she was going to the school here on campus. She was going to school at the university here on... Sorry for the abrupt cutoff, y'all. But anyway, like I was saying, so back then she was going to school at the university here on Island. And I had moved back home from living in Florida with my older sister for a few years. And I just came home to take a break. I went up there to get my degree, obviously. I started in community college. I was actually about to graduate. I was one class away from graduating. And then I had an issue with this math class that I just wasn't prioritizing. I don't like math. I've told you all this already. It's not that I can't do it. It's not that I'm not capable. I don't like it. And that's another thing that they've kind of taken out of context with the technology. And they keep trying to like send these references about math and like, try again, they think it's something that's an insecurity of mine because I said this thing about this math class in community college. It's not that I can't do it or that I'm not good at it. I don't like math. It's just not my thing. And I have ADD. So if it's something that I'm not interested in, I can't focus. And so I used to actually skip the class. And so I failed that class 2 times and I lost my financial aid despite having a 2.7 GPA and despite having A's and B's in my other classes. So it culminated in me taking like a break from school for years, y'all. I mean, I moved back home and everything, and I was out of school for years working, and I worked my way back into school, and then y'all know the rest, right? In 2018, I went to Florida, got my bachelor's degree. I graduated with a 3.5 GPA. I was able to prioritize, etc. If it's something I like, then I do well in it, y'all. Like, for instance, a math that I like is statistics. I got an A in statistics the first time I took the class. I like statistics. I don't know what it is about, certain types of math courses that I don't like, but with statistics, I really like plugging in the numbers, and I liked statistics. Anyway, so nonetheless, y'all, I was home. I had come back home from living in Florida, and I was in my early 20s, and my younger sister had just graduated from high school. She's 4 years and change younger than me, so there is quite an age gap. It's not like this huge age gap, but there is an age gap there. It's almost a 5-year age gap between she and I. So I remember I went to see her on campus because she started off, like I said, at a university here on Island. And I went to see her, and at the time she was in a relationship with this guy that she had met on campus. And I was looking for her. I remember I was walking up and down on the campus looking for her. She knew I was coming. But when I got there, I don't remember what the circumstance was, why I couldn't get her immediately. I don't know if it was her phone was dead or my phone was dead or what was going on. But I remember I had come out the car and I was walking up and down looking for her near the cafeteria area. And I ended up walking by this guy and he kept just looking down. Like, he stood out to me because how he was acting. He, just looking down and acting bashful and like walking with his head down and looking at me, like glancing at me and walking with his head down. So, I didn't kind of take notice to the person because he was acting kind of strange. Not strange, like weird or anything, just like bashful and like, like he knew who I was or something. So anyways, when I finally found my sister, I went to her dorm room and we were talking, and she said, "Oh my gosh, you won't believe it. So-and-so has a crush on you, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "Who's that?" She said, "So-and-so's friend," right? So her boyfriend's friend. And she was like, "He saw you walking and he hasn't stopped talking about you," or something like that. I don't even know how he knew who I was. Maybe he saw pictures because I was friends with her on Facebook, obviously, and he was friends with her on Facebook and, good friends with her ex-boyfriend. So she just, starts telling me the person likes me and can she give him my number. So at this time, like I said, I was dealing with, not being able to genuinely date guys on Island. Like, I truly couldn't trust the guys on Island. Like, a lot of them were involved in the thing with the dude from the cyberstalk and cyberbullying dude, man. And I was a young female that wanted to date like everyone else. Everybody wants to date. You see everybody in relationships or they're talking to somebody or whatever you're doing. That's just human nature. But it's this weird bullying thing with me where they make it seem like that's wrong to want to date. Like, it's this weird psychological warfare thing where it's like this thing, like this teasing thing because you want to date somebody. And it's like more so just, again, antagonization and revenge for what took place with this person. The grudge has been going for years, y'all. It started in my early 20s. It was all the way back then the thing was going. That's why I dated this guy. That's the whole reason I gave him the time of day, because typically I wouldn't date a younger guy, especially not back then. Especially not to that capacity where I actually went in a whole relationship with the person. Anyway, y'all, so she gave him my number. And him and I started talking, and he seemed like a cool person. I didn't even realize that he had a negative personality until I actually got in the relationship with him. He seemed like a chill, cool person, a little bit immature, but, not majorly. And I thought he was attractive. He wasn't a bad looking guy, so I was like, okay, whatever. So we started dating, and I started realizing he was like a negative person. Like, I don't want to fault him for this. I already said I think it's due to whatever circumstances he had in life, but from what he was telling me, his mom used to treat him bad and like put his brother on a pedestal, and kind of not just putting the brother on a pedestal, but kind of like, it was this weird thing from what he was saying. Like, she kind of pit them against each other, and she really used to treat him bad. And it's either, I think they were confirming, because I can't remember, y'all. This was years ago when this relationship happened. Somebody's revving by now with the crazy shit because they already heard this story. I talked about it in another video. They're so involved with what's going on with me, y'all. I could say something in a video from months ago and then I start talking about it again months later and they know what I'm about to say. Like, they're keeping up with everything play by play by play. As if I'm like some sort of soap opera character or like an actor that they're keeping up with. Anyway, y'all, so it's either that his mom, he has a different dad to his brother, and the mom, I guess, despises his dad, and so she took it out on him. Or they have the same dad, but he looks more like the dad than his brother does. Now they're chirping for that. Last time when I was telling the story, they were chirping like they had two different dads. Now they're chirping like they have the same dad, and he just looks more like the dad. What is going on? They're obviously in communication with him. I don't know what they're trying to do today now. Anyway, y'all, I can't truly remember, so I don't want to say wrong information. I just know that it's one of two things. It's either that he and the brother have different dads, and the mom despises his dad, and so she took it out on him, or he and the brother have the same dad, but he looks more like the dad than the brother does. And so that's why she treated him the way she treated him. And he was the younger brother. His brother's older than him. Not by much, though. They're like, if I remember correctly, the age gap between the two of them is more so like the age gap between my older sister and I. So they're not that far apart in age. But he's the younger brother. Anyway, so I did look at the two of them. And to me, they both kind of resemble the mother. If you're not being ignorant and looking at skin complexion and you're just looking at facial features, to me, they both resemble the mother. In fact, I found him to resemble the mom more than his brother, to be honest with you. But they both look like the mother, but the brother's lighter complexion, has a lighter complexion. Like, the brother is like brown skin, like my complexion, and he's dark skin. He has really dark skin. Actually, partially what attracted me to him was that his complexion reminded me of the ex, the ex that did whatever to me, the ex that I broke up with. And then I got back with him 2 years later, and then he, took my V card and led me on and did whatever he did. This guy reminds me of that because of like he has like this dark, smooth skin. And so that's why I keep trying to say I don't have a type, because they think I like this light or red, not light, but like this red brown. I have different types. I'm not a vain person, and it's not like this specific type. It's like, if I find you attractive, I find you attractive. But one of the things I like is dark skin too. I find that very attractive. So anyway, nonetheless, y'all, I know that's not a thing either. I like red brown, like they know. I even talked about the fact that for a long time specifically, that was something that caught my eye first, was red brown men. But I also like dark skin, and it's a whole different category there with that. And then I've also dated lighter. I've dated many Spanish guys before. They contacted my ex, James, who was from Colombia, who looks like a white guy. He has green eyes. He has fair skin, like he has dark, curly black hair. You would think James was white. Actually, my family thought he was white until I told them he was from Colombia, which doesn't mean that you're not white. There are different ethnicities in different locations. So he's a white guy from Colombia. Anyway, so I just have to specify that because, they try to make everything about race with the crazy shit. I don't have a type is what I'm trying to say. I like different types. It's just whatever. But there is something with dark skin that I find really attractive too. So anyways, nonetheless, so I thought he was attractive. It wasn't really about how he looked. It was more so his personality. And then it's like he had a low self-esteem too. Like some of the stuff he used to say, which I can't blame him. If something was going on with his mom or whatever, I understand. You have a low self-esteem, whatever's going on. But he'd had, I think, a low self-esteem and whatever. And there was even this friend that kind of, I'm like, let me not talk about too much about this man's business, right? But anyway, so I started just realizing he had a negative personality. I think he can't help it. I think maybe it's due to whatever he's been through. It created this negative disposition or this negative outlook on life. I want to say that, but that's not true, because some people have gone through the same thing and they're not negative. So it really just depends on your personality and your character, how you handle the different things that are thrown at you in life, or the hand that you were dealt. Sometimes you're dealt an unfair hand in life. I know I'm speaking from experience, and how you deal with it is how you deal with it. So anyways, he was just negative, man. And I realized the conversations used to be draining, and his energy used to kind of drain me. And I was already trying to recover from alcoholism and get my life back on track. And it was just this negative energy. And I just realized I wasn't feeling the relationship. Like, that's just the honest to God truth. I was with him for like five to 6 months. Like, it was like months. We weren't even together for a whole year. I think it was like 5 to 6 months, something like that. And then I made an excuse to break up with him. I told him it was because I felt like he was too young for me. And although that was a big turnoff for me, so it wasn't a complete lie. It was like an omission. It was like a lie of omission. You know, like you insinuate something, then you don't say everything. Like, it was like a lie of omission. I truly was unattracted to the age gap and what seemed like immaturity with him. But that's not why I broke up with him. I broke up with him because he had a negative personality and he was just like this. Even my sister said the same thing. She was friends with him before me. And she said he's very negative. He's a very negative person. So anyways, oh, my back is hurting me. So I ended up breaking up with him and making some excuse, like saying it was the age thing. And although that was turning me off, that's not why I broke up with him. So anyway, years later now, after breaking up with him, he still used to like reach out off and on. I went back to Florida to finish school, and he was like reaching out off and on and keeping in touch with me. And I noticed like all communication stopped. Like, he stopped trying to reach out, and it was this off and on thing anyway. It's not like he was running me down or chasing me down, but he was always the one that initiated contact first, always. I noticed he just completely stopped trying to reach out. Like, it wasn't like this off and on like reach out type of thing. I just noticed complete communication ended, and then I realized why. I saw that he was in a relationship, a real relationship. Like, I've been in real relationships, and to me, I would say this was his first real relationship. Not to say what him and I had wasn't real, but it was like this childish thing. He was young, like in his early 20s. I was in my early 20s too. I think I don't remember the age gap. I remember it being something that made me uncomfortable because he was younger than my sister. My sister is 4 years and change younger than me, and I believe he was a year younger than her. So I believe he was 5 years and change younger than me. And I remember I kept asking both of my sisters, I kept saying, do you think it's weird that I'm dating somebody that's 5 years younger than me? I was like, and they kept saying, no, it's not a big deal. People do it all the time. It's not a big deal. I was obsessing over it. So that's why I'm saying it wasn't a complete lie, telling him that this was why I broke up with him. That was a main source of contention for me, or insecurity for me, because I don't typically date younger. But that's not really why I broke up with him. My back is hurting me. Anyway, but the point is, we were both really young, and I had been in something more real before him. And after him, I've been in relationships that I would consider to be more serious. And I think this was his first serious relationship where he was able to actually see what it's like to live with somebody and be in a true relationship with a person, blah, 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 blah. And the girl looked like she was more suitable for him too. She looked like she was more suitable for him. She looked his age, and I thought it was a cute relationship. I remember seeing the picture and genuinely being happy for him. So anyway, that was it. I moved on from it. He wasn't one of those people that like hurt me. It wasn't until recently with what they've been doing and insinuating is where I feel like my feelings are hurt. I'm like, okay, so this bitter person obviously was holding a grudge and is trying to say shit about me behind my back. But other than that, there was no like negative, like I would say that was an ex that I could talk to before whatever happened recently. That was an ex that I would say I could talk to, and like we didn't have beef or anything. There wasn't like this horrible, tumultuous end. The relationship to me wasn't even that serious of a relationship. Not like I just hop in relationships for fun, like casual relationships. That sounds bad too, but I genuinely was trying to be in a relationship with him. But then, like I said, I realized that it wasn't working for me. Like the personality was just not what I was looking for. And then I also had, like I said, in the back of my head, this insecurity with the age. But that wouldn't have been a big deal had his personality matched with mine. It was really just like this negative. That's really what it was. So anyway, I saw he was in the relationship, and I thought it was cute. But I was doing my own thing too on my own end. Next, I noticed he starts reaching out again, maybe like a year or two later. I haven't been keeping up with the time frame, y'all. Like that again. Let me reiterate, that was one of the irrelevant relationships that I've been in. It wasn't to me like one of the more serious things that I've been in. I'm just being honest. So anyway, it was like maybe a year or two after, I noticed he started reaching out to me again. And while he's reaching out to me, his friend who was with my sister was reaching out to my sister. And apparently the two of them were living in the States. Obviously, this was when he got in the relationship with the girl that he was with. And they were living in the States, and apparently the girl broke up with him for whatever reason. I didn't know at the time until, a few years ago when I actually met up with him in person down here. And we were talking, and I realized he was angry and bitter about that too. Anyway, so apparently the girl broke up with him, and so he starts reaching out to me again. So I keep wondering in my head, was I his first girlfriend? Like, I keep trying to figure out, was I his first girlfriend? I don't remember what he told me. I think he told me I was his first girlfriend. I think he did tell me that. You know, I can't remember. It's like, it's almost like I feel like I remember him telling me that. Because apparently, like, when he was in high school, him and the guy that was with my sister and that whole crew of friends, they were like some sort of nerdy crew that had like a glow up, you know, that kind of way. And that's what my sister was telling me. I don't know, they're younger than me. That's not my age group. Anyway, so she was telling me that they were like nerdy and then they had like this glow up or something like that. Something happened with them. So I think I think when he was in high school and stuff, he was like friend zoned, because I remembered him even telling me about this kind of like what they tried to paint with the guy that I was friends with in high school, that I thought I was in love with. He had a real situation like that with this girl that was his best friend in high school, and he was telling me he loved her and he didn't know how to tell her, and it's like she friend zoned him, and then she was dating some next dude that was an asshole, and he didn't understand why she was dating the dude, and he felt like he looked better than the dude, and all this, the man. Anyway, so I think he was like this kind of like his personality, because he's not a bad looking guy. I think his personality was off-putting to females. He's like negative and he's shy too, you know, and so oftentimes females are looking for more of an outgoing guy, but not always. That wasn't the issue for me. I didn't really care about him being shy. It was more so, like I said, the fact that he was negative, a negative person. Anyway, so I think I was actually his first girlfriend. I think I remember him saying that. I don't want to say misinformation. I actually genuinely think I was his first girlfriend. So that's why when he broke up with the girl, I think that's why he instantly came back and reached out to me, because I think that was what he had been with, the first thing he had ever been with before her. So he starts reaching out to me, and I'm talking to him like on a casual level. At the time, I was dating and doing my own thing. Y'all know what happened when I was in school in Florida. The dude from the church, I was in a relationship with him. Whatever happened with him. I had started talking to the Jamaican guy, but I didn't really get in a relationship with the Jamaican guy until years later. And I had other guys I was talking to. So it was just like I was open to talking to him. Like I said, it was a relationship that ended amicably. From my perspective, it ended amicably. And at that time, I hadn't talked to his... No, I did. Oh, the thing with his friend had already happened. After his relationship, when he reached out to me again, the thing with his friend had already happened. So before the relationship, like I told you, he reached out a few times and I noticed all contact stopped. And that was when I realized he was in a relationship. And then before I left for Florida, the thing with his friend happened. In fact, I think before he got in that relationship in the States, the thing with his friend happened. Now that I think about it, the timeline is getting warped, y'all. It's been years and years of different crazy shit. And like I said, that was, I don't want to say irrelevant and sound cold, but like that was... compared to everything else that I've dealt with in other real relationships I've been in, that one wasn't as serious for me, so I can't remember the details. Like, I'm really good with memory and stuff, but I can't remember every little detail. But now that I think about it, before I left for Florida the second time to finish school, and before he got in that relationship, I did talk to his friend. It was like 2 years after him and I broke up when it happened. And I was still on the island. And I was still being set up and I couldn't trust anyone. And I remember my younger sister had started talking to her ex again. The same ex that's friends with him was also friends with this other guy that I ended up talking to very briefly. Like, we talked for like 2 weeks. It wasn't like a thing where we talked and started messing around. We were not in a relationship. I never even kissed him. I just gave him a hug. I never even kissed him. So what it was about 2 years later, my younger sister started talking to this ex again, and I went with her to hang out, and she told me, oh, so-and-so wants to talk to you. And I knew him. Not personally. It had been years since I had seen him, but we grew up with this guy. It was this kind of way where, just like I was talking about in the earlier clip, my dad has a lot of friends on island. And so this was one of my dad's Rastaman friends' sons. And there was another son, too, for another one of his friends that I had talked to in high school very briefly. But anyway, so that's what it was. This guy, we didn't know him like in adulthood. We had just kind of started knowing him again when my sister started going to school on campus and got with the dude that happens to be friends with him. That was where he was kind of reintroduced into our life, because it was like this childhood thing where My dad was friends with this Rasta guy, and we used to go over to the house all the time and play with them, you know, like as children. And then now we're grown adults and we haven't seen each other in years. But hey, I remember you. We used to play with you, you know, whatever. So it's that kind of way where she was like, so and so likes you, and I'm like, okay, well, this is somebody I can probably trust, despite what's happening here on island. And although he's like, it's, you know, knows the other guy that I was in the relationship with, he wasn't in the picture when I was with that guy. So it's not like a friend that was around hanging out with us while I was with him. It wasn't that type of situation. The island is small. Everybody knows each other. They're in the same age group. So anyway, I was okay with it. I was open to it. And again, it was like this younger guy where I don't typically like to date younger. I actually prefer not. I prefer older. But I was like, okay, because he's younger, I feel like this is someone else that won't really know about or be involved in what's going on with this setup thing and whatever is going on. This bullying ring that started because of the cyberbullying guy. So there were multiple reasons why I was open to it. And so I started talking to him, and obviously it was a sore spot for the guy. I think he felt like I was like some sort of bitch for doing that. So I talked to the dude for a couple weeks, and then I didn't do anything else. I couldn't get past it. I kept feeling guilty, and I remembered him actually reaching out to the guy that I was in the relationship with while I was talking to the friend. I got a message from him, and I just started feeling bad about it. I just felt like it was, I don't know, I just couldn't do it. So I cut that off. And so we didn't really have anything. Me and that guy just talked for 2 weeks. He was a cool person. He had a good personality. He didn't really have a negative personality like his friend. But that was it. We just talked for a couple weeks. We didn't kiss. We didn't mess around. We didn't do anything. It wasn't like that. And it was like a specific, particular kind of circumstance why I was even open to talking to him in the first place. Anyways, it seems like that was a sore spot for the guy. So he was holding a grudge about that. And I guess holding a grudge about how I broke up with him. Because I remember when he called and he started talking to me again after his relationship ended. This is, again, years later. This is what I'm like saying, like, these people are holding grudges for years and years and years like elephants. Anyway, so now this is like even longer after, years later. I'm in Florida now with my sister, like I said, and he starts reaching out. And his friend is reaching out to my sister. And, we're having conversations, and I noticed he kept throwing in the conversation innuendos about what happened with his friend. And he even said, like, he felt like I was full of it. The fact that I told him I broke up with him for being younger than me. But then a couple years later, I talked to his friend who's the same age. And so I didn't really know how to explain, well, that's the excuse I gave you, but really it's your personality. I didn't know how to tell him that. But anyway, he didn't sound super angry. Like, I didn't know, like, he was really holding a grudge for real. I had no idea. So anyways, now, again, a couple years after that, I moved back home. I become a teacher. I get an apartment. I have the car. The targeting started at this point. Remember, the targeting started in 2020. So now I'm targeted. And all these different weird things are happening that I can't explain. And I'm trying to get answers from the people in my close circle. And they keep, like, gaslighting me about what's happening. I keep saying, hey, this is happening now ever since I sent the text. What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. They said, what bullshit are you talking about? What text? What bullshit are you talking about? That's what they kept telling me. Every time I tried to do, that's what they gaslight and say I ran. I first tried to confront the situation and you guys kept gaslighting me. So that was when I realized, okay, this is not going to get any better. They're following me around. I'm being watched on camera. I need to try to relocate. They made it seem like I just hopped up and just ran like I did something wrong. I sat there and tried to confront the situation and you would not acknowledge what was happening. And that was when I realized, okay, well, this is not going to stop, so I need to leave. Anyway, so nonetheless, y'all, I don't mean to go off on a tangent. So the targeting had started at this point when the thing with this guy happened. That's why they recorded it, because I was being watched on camera at that point. It was in my apartment. Remember, I told you after a while I did realize I was being watched in the apartment. This was before I had confirmed that they were watching me. I had suspected it, but I hadn't confirmed it. That's why the interaction was the way it was. Thank God the suspicion was there, because I was very, like, closed off in the interaction with the guy, whatever we did. And I made sure the covers were pulled up over us. And it was just a very lame and very short-lived and very covered interaction because I was suspecting that I was being watched on camera, but I wasn't sure yet. And by the time I confirmed it, the thing had already happened. So anyways, thank God the interaction was the way it was. Because imagine, if it was some big, like, and they're recording that's so horrible and creepy. So anyways, y'all, my back hurts really bad. I'm sorry, y'all. Sorry, I was laying on my stomach and I had to get on my back, and my back is really sore. I've been squatting really heavy recently, y'all, and it's this new style of squatting that I'm doing. I've talked about this in prior videos, where I'm isolating my quad muscles and I'm making sure to elevate my heels on dumbbells. It's called cyclist squats, and so it's this super high elevation, and so it's like this really deep squat. But sometimes, it can get to the point where your spine takes on too much pressure if you don't make sure that your form is proper. And so I do feel like soreness in my spine off and on, and I was laying in bed all day yesterday too. So not all day, I went to the gym yesterday, but a good chunk of the day I was laying in bed. And so, sorry y'all, I'm back. I just ended up cutting the video and coming back. But like I was saying, y'all, my back is just a little sore, so that's what that was. I was turning over on my back and I had to stop the video and start it back. Like I was saying though, so at this point now I'm back on island. This was right around the time when the targeting started. This was like a year after the targeting started. Remember, my targeting started summer of 2020. So 2021, towards the end of 2021, things had started worsening, but it still was it was not viral. It was contained still. Not only was it contained to the island still, but only certain people knew about it. Like, it wasn't this thing where the whole island knew about the targeting and had access to the cameras that were on me. I wasn't even sure if cameras were on me or not yet. That was around the time when I had started realizing cameras were on me. So anyway, he comes back on island, and his friend, the one that had dated my sister, and him and I start talking. He reaches out to me as usual. He was the one who always reached out first. I never reached out to him first. So anyway, he reached out and we start talking. We hang out a couple times, and there's, this night where I went out with my sister, and I think I hung out with him for a little bit and then went back with my sister, was hanging out with my sister, and then I ended up going back to my apartment, and he reached out and told me he was coming over. And I just allowed him to come over. I mean, it is what it is. I'm a grown woman. I was grown back then. At that point, I was 29, making 30. I wasn't 30 yet. Actually, this happened right before my 30th birthday. And the reason I remember is because he wrote me this big, long message when I posted these pictures on Facebook after he had screamed at me like a dog after we had done whatever, right? So he came over to the apartment, and I allowed him to come over, and whatever happened. It was one of the most short-lived sexual interactions I've ever had, y'all. I mean, it was very short-lived. The thing was like, 2 minutes of that? It was a very short-lived interaction. I made sure to pull the covers over us because at this point I had started suspecting that I was being watched on camera, but I wasn't sure yet. The confirmation hadn't happened yet. When it was confirmed and I really realized I was being watched on camera, I stopped staying in the apartment. I started staying in my car, and just craziness, y'all. Anyway, at this point, I wasn't 100% sure if I was being watched on camera, but the suspicion was there. So I remember it was, like I said, very basic, boring stuff. It wasn't like some porno type stuff, thank God. Because with them watching and recording, that's humiliating. It's just a complete infringement of human rights. It's just so low and dirty to me. Anyway, y'all, so it was a very basic, boring, short-lived interaction, and I made sure the covers were pulled over us. So, the interaction happened, and then afterward, I think it was like a day after, or no, maybe it was I think it was the day after I called him. I knew he was at work, and I called him, and he started to scream at me. First I think I don't remember what it was that made him start yelling at me. I'm trying to remember what made him yell at me. I mean, I think this was something he was planning to do. I think he was trying to get me in the sack as revenge. So anyways, I called him, and I noticed he was just screaming at me I'm at work right now. Oh no, that's what it was. We were texting first, I think. I think it's that we were texting first, and he told me he was at work. And then I think I called him. And then he started screaming at me that he told me he was at work and whatever, just screaming at me. I was like, wait a minute. I remember even looking at the phone like it was a foreign object. Because I'm like, he don't talk to me like this. There's been moments in the past when him and I were legitly together. where I saw like glimpses of his temper. I knew he had a temper and a negative personality. That's why I broke up with him. But this was the first time where this man talked to me like an absolute dog. And I started kind of catching on that I got. I was like, oh shit, I got. And it's not a big deal at this point. I'm a grown woman. He was let me think about this. Because after the targeting, that was when I told y'all all these different sexual encounters happened. Before the targeting, I had only had 2 encounters. 3 if you count the rape that took place. But 2 consensual encounters. The one with the guy from my church, and then the multiple encounters I had with the guy that took my virginity. The other ex that tried to get back on me. I'm trying to remember if he was the 3rd guy. He was the 4th guy that I ever did anything with. Because at that point, I think I had already dealt with the St. Lucian man that was a foreman at my job. All of these things took place after the targeting, y'all. Remember I told you there was like 4 sexual encounters I had after the targeting started. And it was in the span of 2 years. It was mental state. I had like this affair, and not an affair, he wasn't married, but the reason I'm saying affair is because we weren't in a relationship. That was the first guy I ever did anything with that I wasn't in a relationship with. Aside from the rape, like I said, that happened before the targeting. The St. Lucian man that was older than me. That's the oldest man I've ever dealt with too, by the way. I was 29 at the time and he was 47. And he was a foreman working on the hotels that I was doing security at. And I was, he came and started talking to me and finessing me, and we ended up dealing, messing around with each other. I mean, it is what it is. I've never been the type to mess around, so it feels weird even saying that, but that's just literally the reality. I'm not hiding the life I've lived. It's the reality. That's what happened. We were messing around. We were not together. So anyway, so that was the 3rd guy I ever did stuff with, though, was the St. Lucian man. The 4th guy was this bitter ex. He was my 4th. And honestly, really my 3rd, if you don't count the guy, like I said, that the interaction was non-consensual. He was the 3rd guy I ever did anything with consensually. No. He was the 4th. No, the 5th. If we're talking about, if we include the guy that did whatever. No, the reason I'm getting confused, y'all, is because I realized I was including the guy that I had the non-consensual interaction with. Remember, there were 3. Look at them trying to fly the plane and do, please. Remember I said there were 3 guys before the targeting started. So there was the non-consensual interaction I had with the guy that did whatever when I was blacked out. In those 3 years where I was an alcoholic, that was the only time that ever happened to me. There was the ex that took my virginity, which was before that guy. That guy that we had that I had the non-consensual interaction with, he was the 2nd guy that ever did anything with me. The 1st guy was the guy that took my virginity. The 3rd guy was the guy when I went back to school, right before my targeting started in 2018, the guy that went to my church that I told y'all had a problem, like he was a cheater, he was a dog. And then after him and I broke up, he got with this next female, had a baby on her. She still married him. That could have been me. I could have been married right now and with a dog. Anyway, nonetheless, so it was 3 guys if you count the non-consensual interaction before the targeting. Then when the targeting started, the 4th guy was the foreman that was working on the hotels that I did security at. And this was after the targeting started. The 5th guy was this bitter ex. He was the 5th guy. Anyway, so it wasn't that big of a deal for me because at that point I had become desensitized to sex. Not desensitized in the way where I'm like loose and just going to do it with anybody and not care. I still had the same morals as before, but it wasn't like before where I was feeling like this, I can't breathe because I did it with this person and it didn't work out. Like that feeling was gone. Like I was desensitized in a way, I guess you could say. Especially after having a whole affair with a man that I wasn't with. Like you could say a detachment and a desensitization took place. So when it came to this ex, although I was just like, shit, he got me. Like I started realizing it was like a get back. It wasn't like with the first ex where I was losing my mind and running him down and like, oh my God, I held on to my virginity for so long and, whatever. Like with this ex, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like I felt like the world was ending. It was more so like, damn, this nigga got me. Like that kind of way. I'm just like, okay, well, whatever. It was more so how he talked to me. It's not even like, okay, you did whatever you did with me and then cut off interaction, right? It's the way he spoke to me like a dog. Like, that's where I was just like, this dude got me. He really got me. He got me good. But the interaction was very short-lived and lame, like I said, y'all. And thank God I had the sense to pull the covers over us, because I was suspecting that I was being watched on camera, but I wasn't sure. So I pulled the covers over us. Thank God. Anyway, so it was a very short, lame interaction, and the covers were pulled over us. So they didn't see much. They did not see much. Anyway, didn't they start sending some lie with the technology the other day about go down? I'm like, are you nuts? I couldn't believe they sent that with the technology. You actually recorded the interaction, so I know you're lying. You know full well you're lying. So anyway, I never went down on that dude, but he did offer to go down on me. That's why I'm saying he's nasty. Not recently, not back then, when he came back and tried to get the get back. But when him and I were together, we were together for about 5 to 6 months. We didn't go all the way because of me. I chose not to go all the way with him. And I had already had 2 partners at that point. The guy that led me on, the first guy, and then the non-consensual interaction. So I had already had 2 partners at that point. I was with him. I could have had sex with him. I purposely didn't, because I was very particular back then. And I wanted to make sure that the next man I did it with was going to be my husband. And so I kept seeing signs with him in the relationship, like I wasn't sure that he would be that person. And so I never did it with him. I never had sex with him when him and I were actually in a relationship together for months. But we did do other stuff. TMI, this is stuff I don't want to talk about on camera, but I'm just trying to, again, I'm trying to defend myself, because now he's lying, it seems, and making it seem like I stunk. That's why I'm saying he's nasty if that's the case. Because when him and I were actually in a relationship together, there were numerous occasions where he put his hand down there, and he even offered to go down there. I said no. I didn't let him go down on me, which, by the way, I was famous for allowing that to happen. Are you okay? Anyway, so I didn't let him go down on me. There were numerous occasions where he was trying to do that, and I told him no. So he was putting his hand on there, and that was as far as that went. So he's nasty. If I smell bad, first of all, why would you keep reaching out? Why would you reach out to somebody that you were in a relationship with that smells bad? Why would you be with them for 5 to 6 months? Unless you're nasty. Why would you keep reaching out to that person and then turn around and have sex with them years later? Does that make sense? Now listen to the loud talking. All of a sudden when I start making sense, now you're hearing loud talking, right? Okay. So it's just like you have to just pick apart facts from bullshit and lay the facts out. Why the fuck would you be with somebody for a whole half a year if they're smelling bad? Either you like them so bad that you don't care, and you're gonna at least try to tell them, hey, you should use this to clean yourself or something. You're not gonna keep putting your hand on there and even offer to go down on them. And then you're not gonna reach out after the relationship ends and try to link up with the person if they're smelling bad. Why would you, unless you like the person real bad and you didn't care? To me, that's nastiness, because I could never like somebody that bad that they're smelling bad, especially in that area. And I'm just cool with it. I'm either, I like you bad enough where I'm like, damn, something's going on, let's fix it. Or I'm not dealing with you. So is he nasty? Or is he a liar? So anyways, so we did whatever. And then, like I said, I think it was the next day or the day after that, I was texting him. He told me he was at work. And then I remember calling him, and he screamed at me like I was a dog. And so I hung up on him and I blocked his number. And then I put this picture up on Facebook for my birthday, my 30th birthday. I'm so mad I don't have the message anymore either. That message that he sent me, I think I just deleted it and blocked him on Facebook. Up to now, him and I are not friends on Facebook anymore, because immediately after I blocked him, I'm so mad I don't have the messages, and I showed my younger sister the messages. And then when I was asking her recently about it, she didn't get caught up again. She kept saying, I can't remember that. I can't remember. I don't know. I know she remembers. But what happens is with her in the old neighborhood, when we're living in the old house, there was an incident that happened with the cyberstalking, cyberbullying guy before the targeting, where they were hacking my dating websites. And there was this guy named Kadan. I talked about this in prior videos. And I showed her and my sister what happened with Kadan, where him and I had started talking virtually or whatever. And then I sent him some old pictures from Facebook. And those same old pictures from years ago, y'all, I remember going back on Facebook and seeing that the cyberstalking, cyberbullying dude liked 2 of those pictures. So they were hacking my dating websites. Y'all hear them chirping the bird. So anyway, they've been lying and trying to gaslight me and make me feel like I'm crazy. And my sister slipped up in the old neighborhood and said that she remembered that. And then she started trying to like backtrack and say, oh, well, maybe it was an algorithm, whatever. So they have some sort of code of silence where they're purposely gaslighting me and making me feel like bewildered and confused. But anyway, whatever the case is, she didn't get caught up again this time. When I was asking her about the messages, she's like, I don't remember that. Like, she was prepared this time. But I know she remembers. It was a big thing. And I showed her the big long message where he was explaining himself why he screamed at me. Anyway, he only sent it after I put up this picture though. This picture here, I put it up for my birthday. It was not just this specific one. It was like a group of birthday pictures that I put up, and it got a lot of likes and comments. All of a sudden, I see him writing this big backtrack message explaining why he was screaming at me and that his coworker said I was overreacting and whatever stupid shit he was saying. I just blocked the man. I deleted the message. I regret deleting it. I know better from what I've been through than to delete messages. But I deleted the message, and up to now, I'm not friends with him on Facebook. I blocked him. Or unadded him. I either unadded him or blocked him. I think I had recently unblocked him to show, I don't know what I did it, why, I think it was because I was looking for that message. I think I went and I unblocked him, like, when I said recently, like a year ago or whatever, when I first, not a year ago, it was like whenever I first started talking about him, when they first started sending the references about recordings and this and that. So anyway, let me come off of this. So that's what happened with that. That was it. After he sent that message and I blocked him or unadded him, I haven't heard from him since, and he hasn't heard from me. That was it. And then my own crazy shit started happening where the targeting got worse. I went to the States, things blew up, and whatever happened. You know, so now I'm this big viral target. And a lot of people that have problems with me, guys particularly, have used it as an opportunity to take blows. He already, I would say, got his lick back. Like, why are you still taking blows? It's not like I've talked about him in recent videos. I haven't. He's one of those I did not talk about. So anyways, so now, like I said, about 7 months ago, when the thing with the man from the gym, with the thing with his girlfriend happened, where they tried to do the bullying tactic with the picture thing and it backfired and she started malfunctioning, literally like a week after that, they start sending hints through the technology about recordings and bets and just weird stuff. They were sending, I don't know if they're trying to insinuate that that was a bet with him, like it was a bet if he could have sex with me or not, or if they were talking about the sushi guy, because then I think about before the targeting, you know, one of the guys, even during the targeting, they used him. This guy that works at the hospital, I don't know if he still works there. They've used him several times as a gang stalker in the grocery store. And I don't even want to talk about this man. Again, I don't want them to use him and make him pop up again. But before the targeting, before I became a target, when I was still getting set up by different dudes on island as it pertained to the cyber-stalking, cyberbullying guy, and we're living on the other side of this neighborhood, right across the street from us lived this guy that worked at the hospital. I didn't even know he worked. I don't know him. I don't know him for anywhere. I didn't even know he existed on this island. I did not even know he existed on this island until we lived on that side of the neighborhood. Anyway, so he lived across the street, literally like across the street from us. And apparently he didn't live there. His mom lived there, and so he was there all the time. But he had his own apartment nearby in a neighboring neighborhood, very near, right? So I remember, you know, like I said, this was in the heart of me being set up. This is to tell you I'm not easy though, y'all. I didn't do anything with him. I didn't do anything with that bitter ex until after I became a target. That's the only reason he got anything from me. So anyways, this guy was actually really good looking. Like, this was a pretty boy. That's why I believe he was, if he was you, I still don't know if they're lying or not. I don't know what really happened. I don't know to this day if he thought I was my sister. And then when he realized that I wasn't her, he decided to play the game because all those dudes knew about me. Or if from off rip, he was sent after me. But last time I talked about it, and every time I talk about it, they make it seem like he knew who I was from ahead of time and was sent after me. They keep doing noises with the birds, insinuating that he knew who I was from ahead of time. But anyway, so I don't really know the truth. Only they know the true story of what took place. But all I know is he tried to do something. He definitely did. And this was before I was a target. They've been trying to get revenge on me. Like the vengeful thing that got burned in the movie yesterday. And then they had the nerve to make it seem like it was me. I'm like, huh? So anyways, Oh boy. So I don't even want to talk about this man again. It's like I'm going off on a tangent. I'm just trying to tell you that when they used the word bets after the interaction with the man's girlfriend happened, immediately several things started popping in my head. What they were sending references about sex tapes and sending the dude's friend's name, I started thinking about him. Was that a bet? The second time where he came around and actually got through with me, because he had been reaching out. Like ever since we broke up, he had been reaching out off and on until he got in that relationship with that girl. And then she broke his heart or whatever, broke up with him. She said that he was not ambitious enough or whatever she told him. She had just graduated, got her degree, and she felt like he wasn't ambitious enough. This is what he said. I don't know if that's really why she broke up with him or if that was an excuse. Because if a female really loves you and cares about you, she's going to push you and try to motivate you. So maybe similar to how I felt, she felt like he was a negative Betty and she broke up with him. Whatever the case was, he came home looking skinny and MAGA and as usual bitter. And I remember I was talking to him and he was just like seeming angry, and he even started yelling at a certain point when him and I was talking on the dock. I was like, damn, this man is angry. And he even started throwing references about me and his friend. I was like, shit, I don't know what would possess, this is to tell you it was mental state and the targeting. What would possess me then to do stuff with him? I didn't do it when him and I were actually in a real relationship. What would make me do it then? It was mental state. Anyway, nonetheless, I'm hopping all over the place because now I'm back on the bitter dude. I'm just thinking about things and how they started insinuating bets and like bets were going. So I don't know if that was a bet, him trying to do stuff with me, or if they were talking about just in general, there were bets on Island going after what happened with the cyberstalking, cyberbullying guy. They're chirping, so I guess that's what they mean. I believe it, because after what happened with the sushi man, I believe it. So anyway, to do something that evil, like, it's just so evil. Anyway, so I was in the old neighborhood and we were younger. I was in my 20s, and at that time I was a paraeducator. I had gotten my associate's degree. I had paid for that math class out of pocket and I passed it, and I had gotten my associate's degree. And so I was able to become a paraeducator / substitute teacher here on Island, paraprofessional here on Island, before I went back to school to get my bachelor's degree. At that point, I was like 25, 26, something like that, around that age, mid-20s. And we're living on the other side of this very neighborhood. And I remember we're living across from this guy that was like this pretty boy, but I didn't really know him like that. I didn't really used to see him like that. I wasn't studying that man. I didn't know him like that. And at that time, Hurricane Irma had happened. So the big hurricane had happened and we didn't have current. Like, it was almost like a third world country. So everybody was outside and hanging out in the neighborhood, and kind of like the olden days where technology didn't exist. And so at that time, my younger sister was really out in the neighborhood, boy. She was up and down in the neighborhood, hanging out with friends. And every now and then, my older sister and I would go out there with her. My older sister was on Island at the time, too, because it was summertime. So we lived on that side of the neighborhood for a while across from this man. But when things really started kicking off with him was summertime. Well, when I think the thing with him and my sister, whatever it is that happened. And then after summer, when I went back to work, was when the thing with me happened, where he picked me up. So anyways, so she up and down in the neighborhood hanging out, and every now and then my younger sister and I would go out with her and hang out. But at this point now, my older sister was settled down in a relationship, married with children. And for me, I was just more mature, and I did go out to clubs and stuff, but like hanging out in the streets and stuff, I wasn't really doing that. Like every now and then I would go out there, but I wasn't really out there like that. And I remember at that time too, we were kind of hanging out with my cousin, one of my cousin's baby mamas too. She's come to the house a couple times, and she was kind of hanging out with us around then too. So I remember we went, to hang out by the house and stuff, and my younger sister ended up getting in a relationship with this guy in the neighborhood. And so I remember a couple of times we went out there and we were hanging out with the friends and stuff, and a couple of the friends were trying to talk to me, and I wasn't really interested or whatever. So then I end up now back in the house, and while my sister's out there in the streets hanging out, she said she saw the dude from across the street. She said, have y'all ever seen the dude from across the street? Like, she was telling us about the guy from across the street. And she's like, oh my gosh, he looks like so-and-so. Coincidentally enough, see how the island's small? She felt like he looked like the ex that's friends with the bitter ex. The name that they keep sending to me on the technology. That name that they keep sending on the technology as a reference to the bitter ex and trying to, hurt me about the sex tape and whatever horrible lies he's saying behind my back. Or maybe they're the ones making it up. I don't really know. But anyways, this guy here that was across the street, she felt like he resembled that ex. And I kind of saw it, but I kind of don't see it. Like, her ex I'm not really attracted to like that, but that guy from across the street I did find attractive. And her ex is not bad looking, you know. He's actually like a ladies' man too. He's like somebody that a lot of girls like this pretty boy thing. But maybe it's just because he was with her is why I feel that way. You know, because anybody that's with my, you know, a family member, it automatically, like, you're in the brother zone. Like, you look like a brother to me. So maybe that's what it is. But I didn't really, like, even though I can see he's good looking and a lot of girls like him, I didn't really find her ex, like, somebody that I would be attracted to. But this guy from across the street I actually did find attractive. But there is a resemblance there. They don't look that much alike, but it's something about the eyebrows and the eye area. And then they have the same complexion, but it's a different mix. Her ex was half, what is it? He's some exotic mix. I think he's Puerto Rican and is it Cuba or Belize? Some sort of like exotic mix to the island, because you don't have a lot of people down here that are Cuban or from Belize. I think he's half Belizean or half Cuban and half Dominican or Puerto Rican, whatever it is, some sort of exotic Hispanic mix. And this guy across the street was a Trini, and he's half black, half Indian. I think he said his dad was like an Indian man from Trinidad or something like that. But somehow the mix created a similar look. But they look different too at the same time. Very different, even though it's similar. Like I saw it in the eye area more than anything else. But anyway, so she still wasn't over this ex. You know, we were in our early 20s at that point. She was still in her early 20s. That relationship had really just ended. You know, it was still relatively new. And so that's why I think she found this fascination with this man, because he kind of resembled this ex. And you know how it is when you're in love with somebody or whatever the case is, you start looking for that person in every other person. And so I think she saw like a resemblance in this guy. And so that's what she was telling us. She was like, oh my gosh, he looks like so-and-so. Whatever. You know, have y'all seen him? And we're like, me and my older sister were like, no, not really. You know, we try to look out and see how he looks. And every now and then we saw him and we kind of saw the resemblance. So we understood whatever it was she was feeling. So anyway, while she's hanging out in the neighborhood, even though she's in a relationship with this guy in the neighborhood, she still had an attraction to this guy, right? Because he looked like the ex that she had just broken up with. So, and that ex put her through a lot. Anyway, I don't want to talk. This is where I get in problems. I don't want to talk her business or whatever. Anyways, so she's up and down in the neighborhood with the dude that she's dating and these different people. And then sometimes she wasn't with the dude. She was like hanging out with friends or whatever. And she said she would see him. And so she said there was a time where they had eye contact outside the store. Like, I think she was by like the shopping center that's across from that neighborhood. And I think she said he drove by and they were having eye contact and this and that or the third and whatever was going on. So we're just listening, you know, like this is just from my older sister and I, like melee to listen to. We were all close back then. So whenever we like a guy or we're dating a guy or whatever, we tell each other. And so we just thought it was entertaining. That's it. Nothing else ever really popped off between them. So now fast forward past the summertime, I'm walking to go to the school I was teaching at. I wasn't a teacher yet. I was a paraeducator / substitute teacher. And I had just gotten transferred from the elementary school in town that I was working at to the elementary school next to my neighborhood. I asked them to transfer me because the school was in walking distance and I didn't have a car at the time. So I remember I was walking to the school and I noticed like the blue car. I noticed as I'm walking to work, I noticed I had gotten out of the neighborhood now and I'm walking on the main road and I was almost to the school. I noticed the car, whatever car he was driving at the time, like drove by me slow and I knew the car. So I didn't look at it. I didn't look twice at it. I just kind of knew the car, but I just kept my head straight. That wasn't anything for me. I didn't ever have anything with that man. We didn't have eye contact. No contact at all. I was in the house. So this is why I'm like, either he thought I was my sister or it was a setup the whole time. And they keep chirping like it was a setup the whole time. So I don't know. But the reason I kept saying, look, to dive in the thing there again, that's crazy. These people are absolutely unhinged. Anyway, whatever the case is, I think they just don't want to admit the thought I was my sister thing because they're trying to paint it like I'm this horrible, hideous looking thing. And so if they admit that he thought I was my sister, then that's you confirming that I don't look like the hideous thing you're trying to pretend that I look like. Because it's happened before, y'all, around the same time frame. The same dude that took advantage of me when I was drunk. My sister was walking around the neighborhood with the guy she was in the relationship with at this same time period, y'all. walking through the neighborhood with him, and she walked outside that dude's house and he saw her and thought she was me. And so he went back to the dude and was saying all kinds of horrible stuff about me, about apparently what he was doing while I was blacked out. And the dude obviously went back to my sister and was confronting her about it. And then she came back and told me what happened. And that was how I got the confirmation that what I had always suspected was true. Something took place. Anyway, this was all around the same time frame, y'all. So it's very easy to believe that he could have thought I was my sister. But nonetheless, they keep making the noises like that's not what happened. They keep making the noises like he knew who I was ahead of time. You look at the noise they're making. Okay, if you say so, whatever the case is, then that's really crazy. Y'all are unhinged. Like the entity that got burnt in the end of the video yesterday. And you keep pretending like it's me. That's crazy. But for 2 years, you had me feeling crazy. Where I'm talking about the fact that I was getting set up. I'm trying to put videos together to prove it. And you had me feeling crazy. Horrible. Deplorable. Anyways. So anyway, nonetheless, so I was walking to work and I had just gotten my hair cornrowed. That's to tell you, cornrows do look good on me. Like I said, that time where the picture thing happened that created the thing with the man's girlfriend, those cornrows just were not the right size. Anyway, so I had gotten some cornrows in and they did look good and I had my shades on and was dressed nice. I used to dress nice. I keep trying to tell them I used to dress nice. Now I'm targeted. They're seeing me dressed like a vagabond or like a homeless person because I don't have much. I gave my clothes away. I'm targeted. I'm depressed. I don't really care. I try to put myself together a little bit when I go to the gym and stuff, but I don't really care. I used to dress nice. I used to have nice clothes, nice shoes, etc. Anyway, so I was dressed nice and I was walking to work and I see the car drive by me and it's like it slowed down and then it did a U-turn and came back around and the person offered me a ride. So I hopped in, it was a hop and a skip away, but I was like, okay. I just said, sure, thanks, right? So I make a conversation with him. He seemed genuine and he was like, oh, cool, you're a teacher. That's good. Whatever. Making conversation with me. We exchanged numbers. He dropped me off. He said he sees me walking sometimes. He decided to offer me a ride. He dropped me off. So I go in there. I go to work. Eventually we end up talking. I didn't feel bad about what I was doing because my sister had a boyfriend at the time. She had a boyfriend and this dude was significantly older than her. He was older than me. I think he was around the same age as the cyberstalking, cyberbullying guy and the man from the gym. All of these people are in the same age range. They have been trying to get me for years. Okay? They've been trying to get me for years. Look, the plane flying by. I'll be back, y'all. Anyways, y'all. So I'm not going to go back into the details of what happened with the sushi person because I've talked about him already. So long story short, he was trying to do whatever with me and I didn't do it. So yeah, that didn't work out. That was a fail on their part. And then years later when the targeting started, right before I tried to relocate off island, I was riding my bike in the old neighborhood when I lived in the old neighborhood still with the cyberstalking, cyberbullying guy's family who was doing noise campaigns on me. I was riding in the neighborhood right next to that neighborhood and this guy lives around that area too. He came and rolled up past me while I was riding my bike. And so I remember wondering if it was him because the car drove by so slow and it looked like his car. But it was tinted and I couldn't see good the first time. So another day he drove by again and this time he started to slow down and I was actually able to look in through the windshield and see that it was him and he was actually stopping the vehicle. So I remember riding down the hill as fast as possible and then I took a hard, sharp left up the hill. This was all on camera because they were recording me back then too, apparently. So they tried to send him a second time while the targeting had started. It's like, you think I'm special ed or something? So anyway, that time I definitely sped off with my, sped off on my bike. And then he left and then he came back another day while I was riding up the hill and I just hear somebody like beeping hard behind me. So I remember turning around like, who's beeping me? Because I was at the side of the road. Like the person had enough space to just drive around me. They were beeping me like I was blocking a road. I turn around, I see it's him. He's laying on the horn too. I was like, what the hell? And so that happened and that was it. I didn't see him again after that. The only time I've seen him again is recently, since talking about him in these videos. They used him as a gang stalker at the grocery store I like to go to in the morning when I get off work. Like there's been like I want to say 2 or 3 times that I've seen him in the grocery store. And I always just like avoid do these like alternative routes so I don't have to walk by him, and then that's it. That's all that's happened. But he knows he did what he did. So why would you actually show up as a gang stalker and you did what you did? I don't understand that. Anyway, whatever. I do wonder, they said bets were going and stuff. I do wonder if that was one of the bets. I think it was. That's them immediately when they started sending me references about bets and stuff, more than the guy that I was in the relationship with, the bitter ex. He's who popped in my head right away. He popped in my head right away because I remember the interaction and how it went. And I was just like, oh my God, like I think that was a bet. Anyways, y'all, I'm not going to I don't need to tell that story again. I already talked about it. I don't really care to talk about that. So moving on now, y'all. Back to this guy, though, the bitter ex. So the whole reason I started talking about him because I went off on a tangent, and now, again, this is this big, long, talala saga, just for me to get to talking about what they've been sending with the technology recently as it pertains to the bitter ex. So recently, again, they've been throwing subs about him, but they never sent his name. Instead, they sent his friend's name. The guy that was with my sister, they sent his name. And then they start sending stuff about smell, like, and fish. Smell and fish is what they keep sending. And so I'm like, you are such a liar. Like, it's like straight up lying at this point. So anyways, let me just tell y'all, I was with that guy anywhere from 5 to 6 months, like half a year. This was before the targeting. I think I said this already in the prior clips. I keep taking big gaps and spaces in between these clips. But him and I we didn't have sex, but him and I, okay, yeah, the plane's flying by, so apparently I did say this already. I'm not sure because in between these clips, y'all, I'm talking while I'm off camera and responding to the gang stalkers. So I can't remember what I said on camera from what I didn't say on camera. Yeah, but when him and I were together, I never went all the way with him. Back then, I was very particular about who I had sex with, and I was trying to hold off until I found my husband. And at that point, he would have been, if I did do something with him, the third guy. Because, the rape had happened at that point. But the only consensual interaction I had at that point was the first guy that led me on, the first bitter ex. So I was trying to make sure that whoever the next guy was that I did anything with was going to be my husband. So I didn't do anything with him, and, we were together, and just like anyone in a relationship, you do stuff, even if you're not going all the way. So we didn't, not oral. We never had oral anything. But he was putting his hands down there, and he did offer to do oral back then. He offered to do it. I told him no. So if I was smelling bad, then you're a nasty dude. Either that or you're a liar. So anyway, like I said, after we broke up, he was the one that always reached out first. And then years later, before I tried to relocate off island, when I had the apartment, him and I messed around or whatever happened. The little 2-minute interaction that happened. And then him yelling at me like a dog, and then me blocking him. He sent me this message when I put these pictures up on Facebook for my 30th birthday. And then I blocked him, and that's it. I hadn't heard from him since then. And then the targeting went viral. And then I came back on island and started making videos. He was not one of the exes I ever talked about. I only just started talking about him literally 7 months ago after the interaction with the man from the gym's girlfriend happened, the backfire thing that happened. And they started trying to hurt me even more and sending, like insinuations that they had recorded me having some sort of sexual encounter. And then they used his friend's name. They played against me with an avatar in the pool game with his friend's name. And then they started doing the thing about smell, like I smell bad. And here it is now again recently, all of a sudden they're starting to send that stuff again, randomly. Still trying to get retribution for this man from the gym. That's what it's really all about. It's deeper than him, though. Like I said, they've been holding a grudge for years. It really stems back to the cyber-stalking, cyberbullying guy. But now the thing with this man from the gym happened, it was just like it agitated a grudge that's been there for years and years and years. It was really just an add-on to a grudge they've already been holding. So, anyways, y'all, I just wanted to, like I said, defend myself as far as that goes before I continue on with documenting what happened yesterday in the gym. If he's saying that I smell bad, he's nasty, because he offered to do fellatio when him and I were together, and he had put his hands down there multiple times. We were in a relationship. TMI, sorry for the candor, but I have to defend myself. They're sending bullshit with the technology and again, painting a false narrative. The next thing. Oh, the other evidence, y'all, was recently, remember I told y'all when I got the injury, I made an appointment with a gynecologist. And I went to the gynecologist, and there was a nurse in there. The gynecologist had a mask on. From the time she and I first started talking, she had a mask on. While she's performing the pap smear, this was just at the beginning of the year, y'all. I documented this, the results of the pap smear, which was normal. While she was doing the pap smear, there was a nurse. She was so sweet, very nice. There was a nurse in there. That they always do that. They have to have somebody that's babysitting. Not babysitting, but like a witness. Just in case something happens legally. They always have to have a witness in there when they're doing stuff like pap smears, etc. So while she's doing, and also if they need assistance. So while she's doing the pap smear, there was a nurse there that had no mask on. She wasn't holding her nose. She didn't look like she was going to pass out. She was standing there the whole time the pap smear was happening. And she was very nice. And also, I had my pee tested and everything, y'all. Everything came back normal. I don't have any STDs. And my pee is actually damn near alkaline. My pH level is damn near alkaline, y'all. I remember going off when that happened, when I got those results. I was so, just happy to use that. Look at them flying the plane by. So again, these are just things they're saying to hurt me. Again. Anyways, y'all. So back to the documentation of what took place yesterday, though. Because I went off on a tangent. I was just saying that because of what they've been sending with the technology. I started talking about what they were sending with the technology recently about the bitter X and insinuating I smell bad. But back to the documentation of what took place yesterday, right? At the gym. So after I made those clips from what happened in the morning at work, and then I told y'all I went home and I rested. Then I got up and went to get gas, and all this bullshit was happening at the gas station with them trying to hurt me, and, the older Rasta men that were there, and, the one with the mask on, and whatever else was going on. And so then I put on that song about fact show. I'll let the facts show. And I started acting cocky. And I started doing like the blinking, mocking the girlfriend, the malfunction she was having when she saw the picture that I took when they were trying to do the bullying thing. I kept doing the blinking thing and just, acting, mocking and jeering back at them. I'm not the kind to be bullied. I don't care if it's 1 million people against me. I'm going to buck back. That's why they keep sending stuff with the technology about me being an alpha female and this and that and the third, because I'm not just sitting there letting them bully me. I am bullying back. And then they try to make it seem like I'm this bully and bad person when it's really just me reacting to what you're doing. Anyway, so I got to the gym. When I get upstairs, I told the owner hello. He said hello. Then he grabs a bottle of water. He takes a guzzle of the water. I was like, oh boy, here we go. I'm like, they're doing stuff in the gym today. But nonetheless, I wasn't disrespectful or anything. I still was moving humble, right? I just went down. I was going to go do my workout. When I get downstairs now, I noticed this lady that looked like, I still don't know if it's her or not. She looked like one of the basketball coaches that I had when I was in high school. And if it is her, they've used her son on me as a gang stalker. Right before I left the old gym, her son went to high school with me, but he was older. He was in my older sister's grade. And actually, he and a lot of those guys from the basketball team had a crush on my older sister. But anyway, he was like this big basketball player, and eventually he went off, and I think he started playing professionally, I think overseas or something like that. It was this like thing that he actually kind of made it, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, so they started using him right before I left the old gym. They used him like 2 times, and then I made a video about it, and then I noticed I didn't see him again. So that might be why she agreed to do it. I don't know. But, I think he started being used because he also sells sushi down here. So I think he's probably friends with the sushi guy that they used to try to set me up. So I don't know if that's why he inserted himself. He's not their age. He's my older sister's age. But still, all these dudes know each other. And he's in the sushi business. So I think that might be why they started using him. But I noticed like 2 times they used him as a gang stalker on me. I noticed that same gas station yesterday that I went to where they had gang stalking activity going on. Months ago, y'all. I'm talking months ago. Before I left the old gym. Like right before the thing with the man's girlfriend happened. I remember I was leaving the gas station and he was outside pumping gas in an army pants. And then again, I was going into the gym. They actually put him in the gym. I was going into the old gym and he was leaving out of the old gym. He wasn't wearing gang stalking clothes, but he was leaving strategically as I'm walking in. So they were kind of like trying to slightly use him as a gang stalker, and I kind of nipped it in the bud before they made him like one of the permanent gang stalkers. And I just talked about why I thought they were using him. I said, I think it's because, first of all, he's in the sushi business. So he's probably friends with the sushi guy that they actually really did try to set me up with. And then I also said, I talked about the fact that he liked my older sister. You know, like that whole basketball team, a lot of them had a crush on my older sister when we were in high school. So I just said that, and I said I don't really understand why he's being used. I didn't say anything about him. I don't know him. I never had any personal issue with him or interaction with him. The only thing I can think is that he's friends with the sushi guy. Anyway, after I made that video, I didn't see him again. And then shortly after, the thing with the man's girlfriend happened, and then I went in the new gym. But yesterday now, remember what happened yesterday morning? They always do big stuff when things happen, right? Especially if it seems like something that might be like a backfire or something that doesn't look good. I noticed after yesterday morning, I go to the gym. First, they had the bullying thing set up by the gas station. And then I head to the gym, like I told y'all. Before I went in and saw the owner, and before he did the big guzzle of water, my car cut off on me right before I could turn into the gym. So I remember hopping on thinking, this just isn't my day. So anyway, I jumped the battery, and somebody stopped and actually gave me a break to turn into the gym. While I'm turning in, I noticed this truck behind me turning into, and the person had an orange cap on and an orange shirt on. So I still didn't recognize that to be, if it is her, I still didn't recognize that to be the basketball coach from my high school. I didn't see the face good. So I stayed in my car and I was putting myself together and, you know, trying to get my stuff together. And I guess she was able to head into the gym before me. So when I get into the gym now, like I said, the thing happened with the owner where he took the big guzzle of water, I guess because of, you know, what I was doing in the car, where I was mocking and jeering the dude's girlfriend from the old gym. Because of them with their bullying stuff, they started with me first. And talking about I'll Let the Facts Show, that song, you know. So anyway, I got downstairs and I noticed that she was setting up in the area, right? And she had the orange shirt and she's tall. And if it's not her, it's like a lookalike. I didn't see the face good, to be honest, but from the side profile, it looked like her. So anyway, she had the orange hat on. She had an orange shirt on. And remember, I told you they're using orange recently because they did dream manipulation with the technology and put a dream in my head about the man and his girlfriend. And they were trying to give me cookies in the dream. Just weird stuff. Like, it's going so far that they're actually putting dreams in my head about this man. Anyways, y'all, so they've been wearing orange ever since then. So that's a new color they're using now. They're using orange, they're using yellow, they're using blue, they're using green. It's like the rainbow, y'all. They're using purple, they're using red. Anyway, so I notice I see her and I'm like thinking to myself, is that her? You know, is that my coach? Hold on, let me let this person leave, y'all, so I can finish what I'm doing. He's like, he's crazy. I'm so glad he's leaving. Anyway, so I remember thinking to myself, is that her? You know, trying to figure out if that's who I was seeing, if that was my actual coach that I was seeing. And so I remember walking in and I started getting basity and I started seeing all these different faces of different people that I knew in there. And then I even saw that they were using the dude's brother, who they just used the other day that I made the video about, where I had this reaction. I typically don't react to him. He's like this invisible thing in the gym because even though I know he's a gang stalker, ever since I made that video about him talking about why I think they're using him, another situation that was out of my control that they're trying to get revenge for, something that his brother did. I didn't tell his brother to do it. I was minding my business trying to get my license and trying to get a job. And his brother flew out of whatever shop, juice shop, whatever it was, and was trying to tell me something. And I was already kind of far ahead and I had my earphones in. And I'd be dealing with gang stalking off and on too. So I just turned my head and I kept moving. And it's like he got basity because then he started like looking over the balcony and looking at a cat and, you know, is that a black cat? And whatever he started to do. Because at that point now I put the earphone down and I, you know, noticed he's like acting basity and focused on the cat or whatever was going on. And then I get into the gym. That was right before I got into the old gym. And he started doing like the gang stalking stuff. We were already friends on Facebook. He started liking some of my stuff. You know, I did this 270-pound squat. He put a comment underneath it and said cool or good job or whatever he said. And then he even approached me in the gym and said, don't I know you from somewhere? Making conversation with me and telling me, well, where have you been? Are you hiding under a rock? Whatever he was doing, making conversation with me. And then starts doing the bipolar activity in the gym. And it was like literally like you would swear I had done something to the dude. Like I was like, what is his issue? And in my head, I kept thinking back to that moment. I never said anything. I kept thinking, I think that's why this dude is doing this, you know. But I never said anything about it. And it wasn't until I got in the new gym and I realized they're putting his brother on top of me now. I'm like, no man, this is fucking ridiculous. It's just like another reminder of them doing stuff to me for shit that's out of my control. So that was where I finally made the video about it, when I noticed the brother was getting really like on top of me with the gang stalking in the new gym. There was a day where he was like following me around the gym kinda. That was when I made a video about it and I talked about why I think he's being inserted and why I think his brother did the bipolar shit in the old gym. And so after I made that video, I noticed he laid back. Like, he's still in there sometimes when I'm working out, but like not directly on top of me. And it's like kind of like this invisible like presence in there. Like, he never triggers me. Because he laid off of me, it's like whatever. It's just like, I know he's there as a gangstalker, but he's not doing too much. So it's not like agitating me. It's just like this invisible presence. I know you're there as a gangstalker, but you're not like on top of me. When he triggered me was, like I said, in the last video, I talked about this in the last video, was literally, I think it was a week ago, was when his presence actually triggered me. And it was because something had happened right before. I'm trying to remember what was it? So much is happening, y'all. I can't remember. I can't keep up. They're doing so many things trying to get revenge for this man from the old gym. And then you have little side people that have little side personal problems with me for whatever reason. Like with him, it's a little, I think it's a side thing. It's more like they're also friends with the man from the gym. All of these people know each other. But I also think it's a side thing, a personal thing because of what happened with the brother. I really do. Anyway, y'all, I forgot I talked about it in the last video, y'all. So much is going on, I can't remember. Something happened that day that made his presence just be so annoying to me. And then I went to go get the dumbbells to set up to do my squats, and he was sitting there, like, instead of at least pretending like he's working out, he was sitting there doing the staring his phone thing, and something had just happened before. I talked about it in the last video, y'all. It's like these people are kind of irrelevant to me, you know. I don't know them like that. And I'm dealing with bigger issues than these little minute things with these people that I don't really know like that. But anyway, so he triggered me that day, even though he's typically in there and he's not triggering me because he stays back, he lays back, and he's not on top of me. That day, for whatever reason, he triggered me and said, oh, something else happened too. Before I saw him sitting there, before I went to get the dumbbells, as I was just heading over to the squat area to set up to do my squats, before I headed for the dumbbells, they had some random dude in there slam and jam something into the garbage. Now I remember what happened. I had went to the food van, the vegan food van that day to get food. And while I was waiting for my food, I was watching something on my phone with my earphones in. Now I remember. And the technology just started sending some weird stuff about the same don't like shit that they keep throwing at me every fucking day about this man from the old gym, like the guilty. And then I noticed I started hearing revving in the background. So I remember I went to turn on to try to figure out why are they revving and all of a sudden suddenly don't like in the technology. So I'm like, okay, they're just trying to make me feel uncomfortable because they see me standing outside the van and they know I feel uncomfortable. Everybody's staring at me. I turned around, I realized that this man was standing behind me with green eyes. And so that was where I didn't know if he was doing like stuff behind my back. You know, they're hiring all kinds of people and trying to humiliate me. So I didn't know if he was doing stuff behind my back or what was going on. So I remembered feeling sensitive about that. And then I went in the gym and the gym owner was being extremely nice to me, like super nice. Like he's usually nice and gregarious. And he even uses my first name, which did start making me feel comfortable. But I can tell there's this underlying feeling towards me from him. I already know I'm not stupid. I'm very intuitive. But it's okay. I understand. He's white. I've said offensive stuff. We can move past it. It's fine. I don't have anything personal against him. But he was just being super nice. And so this is where I just started to do, like, I don't know. I even started just feeling suspicious. Like, I was already feeling like, I think it was just a paranoia because they keep setting stuff up all over the island trying to humiliate me. And then the thing at the van had just happened. I was really wondering, was that dude doing stuff behind my back? So when the owner was super nice to me, I do remember feeling kind of suspicious. And so then I went down into the gym and then, you know, I still worked out and was acting normal, but I was feeling kind of off. I'm not going to lie. And then I went over to the squat area to do my squats. And I noticed this random dude that they had in there as a gang stalker. Right as I'm walking up to go to the area to do my squats, he walks up and slams something in the garbage. So I started really feeling like that dude that was behind me in the line was probably doing stuff. I still don't know. So I remember at that point, I already was in cocky mode. I was already about to show out and move cocky. That kind of way I start moving when they start doing stuff. And then I head over to the area to get my dumbbells. And I noticed the dude's brother. And he's, instead of like at least pretending like he's working out like he normally does, he's just sitting there right next to the area where he knows I'm getting the dumbbells and staring in his phone. This passive aggressive thing they'll do where they'll be in the area where they know you're going to be. And you know they're a gang stalker. They know that you know that they're a gang stalker. You know, it's not like you're some random person. You know I know who you are. And he's staring down in his phone this kind of way. So all of it triggered me. And so I remember just grabbing the dumbbells and just acting the fool. I went and I was squatting and I was acting cocky and, you know, I was pretending like I couldn't look at myself in the mirror and just because of stupid shit that they do. And then towards the end when it got heavier, I started looking at myself in the mirror and acting cocky because I know I look good and I know why you're doing what you're doing. Again, I'm not Halle Berry, y'all. I'm not the prettiest girl on the island, but I'm attractive. And I know why you're doing what you're doing. And it's obvious with the tactics that you've used. I know why you're doing what you're doing. So anyway, I started acting cocky. And he started getting agitated because I remember I went to put the dumbbells up and then he was like sitting there and he's even started making like a noise in the background. And he doesn't typically do that. He started getting agitated and whatever was happening, right? So that's where like it's the weird thing with him started again now. So I made the video where I talked about him in the last video. So now I come downstairs. I see the lady that looks like my PE coach wearing, not my PE coach, my basketball coach, wearing all orange, even the orange hat. So I got Bassity there. I even did, like, looked at her like this and I got Bassity. And then I walked down this one. It's like packed with people. And then I see him there doing this with his locks. And so I remember I was going to turn around and try to go an alternate route. And I said, no, man, I'm not going to change my whole route because he's standing there. He's always in here. So I decided to just walk by him and I went to do my stuff. So I'm doing my hyperextensions and I started to humble myself. Instead of moving the cocky way that I was moving in the vehicle, where I was like moving this cocky kind of because what they set up at the gas station, the Gangstlking at the gas station. Instead, I started trying to move humble because I thought I saw my coach. Like I said, I still don't know if that was her or not, the basketball coach. And then also the owner did the guzzle the water thing. And I was like, let me just move humble, right? So I'm there and I was moving humble. I wasn't doing the cocky thing that I start doing sometimes. I was moving humble. And then when I get to the last set of my hyperextensions and I'm finishing and I'm about to now walk off, I notice all of a sudden the dude walks up and starts setting up to do crunches right as I'm about to walk off. He comes and starts setting himself up right next to me to do the crunches. And then I walked by him. I still didn't start acting out, I was still in humble mode. I'm like, okay, he's obviously starting up again. And I know this has to do with his brother. I just said, let me just ignore that. So I just walked by him. I wasn't about to act cocky, Then I see the cop. This is where the cockiness started. I saw the cop from the old gym that's good friends with the man from the old gym. And I still wasn't going to act out, I knew they were out doing this because of what happened in the morning time. It was another one of those moments that was not a good look for them. And so I knew that's what this was about, right? So I'm like, okay, this is the guy's friend, but, whatever. I wasn't going to act out because I have like this love-hate relationship. I don't want to say love. That's a strong word. Or hate. That's a strong word too. But this like-dislike relationship with that cop where there have been moments where I could see like he's coming from a good place and he seems cool. And then there are moments where it's like he's doing like the other people, the bullying stuff. So it's just like this, the bipolar stuff, like the whole program. So I wasn't really sure how to move. And like I said, I know what happened in the morning. I knew there was going to be stuff set up. But it was when I actually get over to the area to do my bicep curls and I see the big orange phone. He purposely laid his phone down with an orange case on the bench by where I was going to do my bicep curls. And then he purposely goes and grabs it. Hold on, y'all. All of a sudden, this big, loud tractor is driving through all of a sudden. So anyway, he purposely lays the phone with the orange phone case right there for me to see it. And then he walks up and grabs it and walks off as I walk by and I see it. Once I see it, he grabs it and he walks off. So now I start acting real cocky because I know, I told y'all already when I do my bicep curls, I can see how good I look. Again, I'm not Halle Berry, but I'm attractive and my body looks good and I've been working out. And so I started to do my bicep curls and I started doing them real slow at certain parts in the song where it was talking about letting the facts show and whatever, because I knew that's why they were setting stuff up in that gym because of what happened in the morning time, what I talked about in the earlier clips. So while I'm doing that, I notice he starts walking back and forth in the background behind me and acting like he's on the phone and stuff. There was even a point where he started sipping water. Then he stopped doing that and he just started staying on his phone. And he was just like in the background on his phone where I could see him. So I was just like, what the heck is going on? And so it was just like, I felt like this is still like retribution. Just the whole fact that you had the orange on. Then the lady that looked like my coach, my old basketball coach from high school, that had the whole orange outfit on. She had the orange shirt, the orange hat. Then when I went to do my last workout, my tricep workout, she's sitting right there by where the tricep machine is. On the machine right next to it. I didn't look in her face. So I still up to now don't know if it's her or not, But it looked like her. So all of this that they set up, I'm just like, this is all like still retribution for this man though. Because why are you using orange? Like to me, this is still showing you're not using purple. So this is not about white people like you're pretending it's about. You're just blatantly showing that this is about this man from the old gym. It's obvious. Anyway, I wasn't gonna make a video about it, y'all. I came home, I just said, whatever. Every day it's the same shit about this man. I can't make a video every day about this crap. I can't. I won't. But then they sent something with the technology. Oh, it was a Gangstlking friend request. And the cover photo said, stuff niggas brag about is stuff we did and didn't say anything about. So it's just like the gaslighting. I can't take it. I'm like, they already were doing all this stuff today. And it's like the gaslighting because they know full well they never knew anything about me before my targeting. Even the first 2 years where I was targeted and I was dealing with stuff with that dude's family, I wasn't saying stuff. I wasn't making videos. I tried to leave island is what I tried to do. And then the thing followed me and blew up. And I realized, wait a minute, I come back home and I'm still being tortured. The thing is still happening. It's worse now. That was when I started making videos and defending myself. And then due to certain tactics that they use, I made certain videos again to defend myself. Or as a counteract to a counteractive measure to like the perception they're trying to paint of me. For instance, the false narrative about me trying to do this and that to the cyberstalking, cyberbullying guy, and come to find out they knew about the bets the whole time anyway. Look at what they were just doing a little while ago. But anyway, that was why I made the kisses to my exes video where I started talking about certain exes. So it might look like I was bragging there. But look at the tactics you're using. You're isolating me so you know I can't date anybody right now. You're trying to paint me as this vapid, unwanted female when you know it's not true. You're punishing me for things that are out of my control. You're painting false narratives. So naturally, I'm going to show you the life I lived before I was a target. Then you're going to gaslight and I'm bragging. When I was never even somebody that made videos. Nobody knew what was going on with me. Anyway, y'all, so that's what led to me making this video. I'm talking about certain things. It's just like crazy, weird stuff that I've been dealing with. It's just the same crazy saga, y'all, with people that are having grudges against me that I don't even know from a can of paint. And then some of them is like directly connected to people that I did have interactions with. And they're punishing me for things that are out of my control or holding grudges from decades ago. It's just crazy stuff, y'all. And I'm still targeted and I had to document. This is more documentation. This video is likely going to either remain private. So if it's private, then only the gangstalkers have heard it. Or you've gotten a chance to hear it. I decided to make it public for a little bit, and then eventually I'm going to make it private. This is not going to stay public. This is more so for personal use. I'm posting it to my page for documentation purposes. Been being held, and that's what this is about. It's not about white people or any of the other stuff they're pretending it's about. This is a grudge. A very long, old, stale grudge. All right, y'all. Talk to you in the next one. Peace out.